Okay, so it's live on Facebook. Feel free to share this out from my page. Okay, hello and welcome to Love, Books and Relationships. Please do say hello to us in the chat box if you're watching via Facebook, or if you have joined us live on Zoom. Please say hello, let us know where you are watching from. This is a very interactive event and we've got lots in store for you. So to introduce myself, my name is Daniela Bleckner. I'm an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of professional books. Over the last 4 to 5 years, we have published over 90 books, some of which you can see on the shelf behind me. I've personally mentored over 190 authors and aspiring authors, helping them, assisting them through not just book publishing, writing, but also social media, branding, book marketing, promotions, speaking, public speaking, and most importantly, confidence. But it wasn't always this way. I have faced many challenges, many hurdles. I've had so many doors closed in my face, so many opportunities, just gatekeepers in the way. But my belief is if a door is not available or does not appear to be available, we must be responsible for creating our own door. Why do I do what I do? I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for authors with powerful messages and stories to share so that they can educate, inspire, and empower the generations to come. I have some amazing authors to introduce you to today, and we'll be looking at love. So what is love? What is love? Please, in the chat box, just let us know how would you define love? What is love to you? Does love make the world go round? And what part does self-love play in the love game? I'd love to know what you think. Before I introduce you to my authors and before we get into our discussion, just still letting people in. Okay. Before we crack into our discussion, I just want to share a little bit about my journey. And it actually all started with love. It started as a love for reading and a love for writing. I always wanted to be an author from age, just letting people in. Faye, if you could help me let people in, that would be great. I don't know if you can see the waiting room, but if not, I'll carry on letting them in. So I always wanted to be an author from age 4. I was asked, what do you want to be? And it was always the same thing. And I always said, I am going to be an author. It was never a choice. It was never a discussion. It was, that is what I was going to be. And that's why I love young people, because you ask them what they want to do and they will tell you, because they don't have those limitations or conditions placed upon them. That's what they're going to do. So my idea at 4 years old was that at 40, because I thought that was really old then, I have superseded the age of 40, I know. But the idea was at 40, I was going to retire from being a vet, didn't become a vet, became a teacher, and I was going to stay at home all day and write and publish books. That was my dream. The truth of the matter was I published 7 books before my 36th birthday, and I'm still birthing more, and I have lots more inside of me. So how my journey started was I actually wanted to publish a young adult's fantasy book. But instead, my first book was Mr. Wrong. Not the book that I thought I was going to write. So Mr. Wrong is a collection of stories written by women across the world who've encountered this infamous Mr. Wrong character. But more than that, it's a place where they can self-discover. And the reason that came about was clearly I had a decade of dating disasters. I remember I was in my early 30s and my friend said to me, how do you keep meeting these people? It's like you're meeting the same sort of person, replacing Peter with Paul. You just have so many stories. What is going on here? And so I said, do you know what? And a lot of them said, I need to write a book. So I said, okay, if I meet one more, I'll write a book. I met one more. And so I had to write the book. And it was initially tongue-in-cheek. And I'm going to talk a bit about it later on. So I want to get into the process of publishing. It's a collection of stories, as I said, written by women, but it is a place to self-discover. There are self-reflective exercises. I believe that everything that is on our outside world is a reflection of our internal world. So there's an opportunity to look at belief systems, the power of forgiveness, childhood. So there's a lot of things in there. And so I put something up on a blog. And I come from a family where you don't chat your business, you don't air your dirty laundry. So me putting up my details and saying, hello, my name is Daniela Blacknell, and I have encountered a decade of dating disasters, was not something that is done. My sister is watching, I'm sure she can confirm. You don't do those things. And so I had my face on the blog. I had a friend create these different Mr. Wrong characters. And I said, look, it can't just be me here. Is anybody else encountering, going through some of the things that I am? I had women from America, Australia, the UK, Jamaica, Europe sending in stories. And I thought, there's something in it. I need to honour these stories. So I got these stories together, and created the book. And the first thing I did was I thought, well, hold on. I've started writing, I'm really into it, but I have no idea how to publish. What am I going to do? So what I did was I bought a book called Getting Published by Harry Bingham. And step one is write a query letter. What's a query letter? So a query letter is like a one-pager about yourself, your book, your why, a little bit of a marketing plan. I just wanted to be an author. I don't want to know about marketing plans at that stage. And so and you send in 3 chapters so that you can get an agent. So I sent this off to agents, and I literally waited and waited and waited, and I stopped writing. And they say it can take anything up to 3 to 6 months to get an agent. And so again, I waited and I waited and I waited. After 3 or 6 months, however long it took, all the letters came rolling in. I say all the letters, 3. And it was really great talent, very witty, brilliant writing capability. There's a real market for this. However, you don't have a marketing plan, or you don't have much of a following, is what I kept getting. And I was like, what do you mean a following? Like, I don't even use Facebook, and I just want to be an author. Don't you do that? But they ask for a lot more now. And so I did what they tell you not to do, and that was to apply to traditional publishing companies. And I know for a fact you cannot, these particular companies, you need to be with an agent. And so I thought, let me just do it anyway. I want some more rejection. Why not? Because it was good procrastination time. And so I sent off my query letter. Sorry, I sent off 3 chapters of my book with a cover letter, and I stopped writing. And guess what I did? I waited and I waited and I waited. 3 or 4 months passed. All the letters came in. Okay, 1. And it was, yeah, great writing capability. There's a real market for this, really witty. You write really well, got a lot of talent. However, we don't accept unsolicited authors. And it was then when I had that pivotal moment that I think really changed the course of my direction completely, because that epiphany moment told me that I haven't been waiting for a response. I've been waiting for validation. I've been waiting for somebody to tell me, brilliant, you're brilliant, your story matters, these women's stories matter, your journey matters, your love life or lack of it matters, you know, you matter. And I suddenly thought, hold on, if I know this, if I know these stories can have impacts, and I know they were going to, because they have, because I've had the feedback from people who've read the book. So if I know that these stories can have an impact, and I know that this book can really go somewhere, then by hook or by crook, I've got to do this. I've got to do it myself. And so I researched extensively how to set up a publishing company, set up Conscious Dreams Publishing, not because I wanted to publish other people's books, I wanted to publish my own book. And so I learned about promotion, you know, how to get your book out there, how to publish a book effectively, and did quite well. I got onto the bestseller list. I beat Steve Harvey, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady, got some press coverage, got in the front window of Waterstones. I thought, and it all came because I wanted to prove to these people, listen, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to do it myself. But I think it came out of that stubbornness. It just gave me that extra fire. And from there, I had lots of women at first, especially, come to me and they said, how did you do that? Can you help me get press coverage? Can you help me publish my book? And I was doing it out of a labor of love. And then I realized that they started doing really well and they were getting speaking gigs and they were getting paid speaking gigs. And I thought, I should have charged for this because I was just helping in the beginning. And so then I realized, hold on, my former job is teaching. I do still teach. And I love that. I love teaching, I love mentoring, and I love books. They're my two loves, main loves. And I thought, why don't I put those together? Teaching, mentoring, publishing books, working with people to get their stories out. Because clearly, I had so many people coming to me at this point. Clearly, there's so many of us with powerful messages and stories. Everyday, ordinary people with extraordinary stories of overcoming extraordinary things who want to make an impact but aren't getting heard. And so that really fueled me just to set this up and become a publishing company. And that's how we came about. And my message, I guess, today is don't let rejection or somebody's no become your no. You've got to create your own yes, no matter what it takes, if you believe in what it is that you're doing. And so I'm proud and I'm honoured to be doing our second event of the year, Love, Books and Relationships. And you could say all of this started from having a string of dating disasters and failed relationships, I guess you can say. So with every seemingly bad, or I don't want to say the word bad, but every seemingly perceived challenge is an opportunity to do something great. And without that, I wouldn't have Conscious Dreams Publishing, and without that, we wouldn't have this event today and these amazing authors coming on to share their journey. So thank you, everybody, for coming in. That's a little bit of my story. I'm going to introduce the authors, I think. Are we ready for the authors?
Danny, your live is not on Facebook. It hasn't come up. I did send a message, but I don't think you've seen it, and I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, it is.
People can't see it. Someone message me.
It should be. Okay, bear with me. It's on my page. Oh, hold on. It's only me. Oops. Edit audience, public. There you go. It's on now. I don't know why it goes directly to only me for some reason. I'm not sure why. But that's my story, and I'm honoured and excited to introduce our amazing authors. So first up, we have Marcia Diego, who has written 2 books with us already. They are 2 in a 3-part series trilogy called The Mental Gymnastics. So we have The Decision, A Vow to Tell the Truth, and The Decision, The Truth Revealed. When this manuscript came through in 2017, the first one, I couldn't stop reading it, Marcia. You've given me some late nights, and it's an absolute fantastic read, both of them. So Marcia, hello.
Hi, hello everyone. Great to be here. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Do you want me to say more? Can't hear you.
I said, yep, you're up. You've got your slot now. So
okay.
Let's tell us about you, your book.
Yes, so what am I? I'm an author, which we all know, and I'm an executive coach, and they're the 2 loves of my life. They're the 2 things that I love doing, and at the moment I feel as though I am standing in my power, and it has taken me a while to get to this point. The thing about taking risks is all about loving yourself and not feeling that you can't do. And that's my message to the world. Anything that you want to do, you can do. And I'm living testimony to that. And I think it's taken me a lot of years to get to the point where believing it doesn't matter what other people think of you. The only thing that really matters is how you look at yourself and what you believe about yourself and how you view yourself. And I think the reason why I coach is not because, executive coaching is one thing, but the reason why I coach is to help others to step into their power. It's about recognizing that we all have challenges, and the challenge...
If it gets cold, I'm not reheating it. No, she said get
out of this. And the challenge that we have the challenges that we have are necessary for us to grow and develop. Now, again, taking me a lot of years, I was one of those people, why the hell am I going through this? Why me? And then I stopped through reading and talking to others and developing an understanding of life's journeys. I stopped asking the reason as to why and just recognize that actually it's not about falling off the horse. It's about what you do to get back on the horse, get back in the saddle and keep going. So we all have challenges. And the real issue is, how do you interface with the challenge when you're faced with it? Nobody on this planet goes through life without their challenges, whether rich or poor. It's all about how you deal with them when they challenge you, when you suddenly feel you're out of your depth. And growth to me is something about, in order to understand and walk in somebody else's shoes, growth is about dealing with those challenges. It's not about running. It's not about hiding. It's about dealing with those challenges. Relationships are the same. I've had my failed relationships, which one my books are about. And at first, I remember when I was writing the first one, I just have to tell you this. I was sitting in this room and I was typing away, and my friend walks in, and you could have heard my fingers and the type keys as she walked in the door. I was chomping away and I was so angry. All those thoughts coming back. And actually, when I finished writing what I was, that chapter, and I looked back at it, and I don't know what it was almost like an epiphany moment. And as I was finishing it and doing the editing and I'm going through it, all I kept saying was, look what you did. That's all I kept saying. Now imagine that. I started writing this stuff thinking, yeah, he was this, he was that, this is what happened. And then it suddenly became very clear, you weren't in this relationship by yourself. What was your action? And look what you did. This was you. And the only way you're going to mend this is to take a hard look at yourself. So that was a shock. I was in a daze for a couple of days thinking, oh my God, was this really me? Did I really do that? Oh, damn. But that place that I went to, that's what allowed the growth. So it's really important. And we all try and walk away from pain. None of us want pain. But I tell you, there is a purpose to pain. Okay? And I'm now realizing it. There is a purpose to pain, because that's what allows you to come out the other side. And when you come out the other side, you are 10 times stronger. So that's me. Danny, you're on mute.
Oh no, you're joking. Well, I did say
I can see your mouth moving. I kept thinking, what?
Thank you for letting me know. Marcia, thank you so much. I was just saying that our lovely assistant Faye Thompson, who is the head of events at Conscious Dreams Publishing, awesome. She's putting all the links to the books in as people speak. So we've got your author page in there where you can access both of the books from Marcia. And I just wanted to read some of the comments here. Karina says, love is an unconquerable benevolence. I still said the word wrong. I said it wrong the first time. I'm saying it wrong again. Benevolence. That is beautiful. Kay says, love is a constant flow of energy, a positive frequency and vibration. Love that one. I love our audience today. Nadish says, love is acceptance, appreciation, passion, and the most powerful force of the universe. Awesome. Okay. What else have we got? Okay. Oh, Innomwe says, love is a physical and emotional connection starting with self. Excellent. We're going to get cracking into the role that self-love plays as well. And I love, Marcia, that you spoke about, you know, being responsible for our decisions, which is something that I think is really, really important. My book, Mr. Wrong, is tongue-in-cheek, but really it's about taking accountability for the choices that we make and being empowered through being able to identify those choices. So thank you so much. There's going to be a Q&A at the end of each section where you can ask questions to the authors. But next up, we have the awesome and amazing Chelsea Black, who is actually one of our one and only anonymous author. So you'll not get to see her, but you'll see her image that she has. She is the UK's, I'm going to say top blogger, but expert blogger, dating blogger and serial dater. She's written 2 books with us. I absolutely love the titles and love the covers. The first is called Cupid's Cock-Ups and the second one is called Frogs and Fuckeries. So let's hear from Chelsea. How you doing, Chelsea? You with us?
I'm good, thank you, Danny. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You're a little bit echoey, but I can hear you.
Is that any better?
No.
Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to suggest.
I think it actually adds to your mysterious vibe, so I think we should go ahead. I like
you know what it might be? Let me take my Facebook off, because maybe it's because of the Facebook.
Oh, right. If you've got another device playing at the same time, it might.
Is that any better?
No.
Well, then it's not that then. I don't know. Okay.
Are you happy with Chelsea carrying on? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, just fine.
Okay, so I think my writing journey is fairly similar to Danny's in terms of, you know, trying to go the traditional route, getting the sort of pat letters about, yes, it's well written, but for me the difference, there was no, they said that there was no market for it unless my experiences were darker. So they wanted somebody who'd sort of been raped or had gone through some real trauma, or you needed to be more of a celebrity. So those were the 2 arguments that I got for the rejection letters. And unlike you, who had 3, I had about 50. So it was quite sort of a clear message across the board that there was no market for it. And then we found each other, I think, through Facebook. Which is kind of how I started blogging as well. So I sort of put a few posts around my dates, my dating disasters, and a magazine editor asked me to write a column. So I wrote a column for about a year, and that's how Chelsea Black came to be. And part of the reason that I am anonymous is because when you're writing about dating and sex, it does change the dynamic. But also, men just think, you know, it's a free for all, and that they can just sort of approach in a certain way. So for me, it makes more sense to be anonymous, and it does mean that I protect the, you know, my identity, but also the identity of the waste men that I've had to experience on this journey. So what I thought I would do with my time slot was read a couple of extracts, one from Cupid's Cock-Ups, which is the first story. So it's my post-divorce dating experience, and then I'll read one from Frogs and Fuckeries, which was sort of more of a dating challenge that I took on a few years ago. So the first story I'm going to read, I hope is it still quite echoey?
A little bit, but I mean go ahead, it's fine. I can hear you well.
Okay, so the first one is called The Dog Whisperer. And I'll read that one first. So there are guys that play the online dating game with finesse, and then there are those that go for women who haven't got a clue. I think he was the latter, and I was only just wishing up to this whole. I was only just wising up to this whole online dating malarkey. To be fair, yes, I was fairly new to internet dating when I met him. He set himself apart by waxing lyrical about great writers I remembered from university, but could never quote. I didn't stop to think that he may have Googled it all because I was suitably impressed by his effortless chat and his abs. Oh, he was lush. I had a definite type, I had just finished watching Pretty Woman, and he was evoking all of my Richard Gere fantasies. He was older, with peppered hair, a body that was effortlessly buff, and a broody look. He ran his own successful business and sounded like a man of the world. He talked about things, not about when he was going to get into my knickers. Had I tripped on a man that was together emotionally and financially? Yes. He said that he lived alone in North London and was keen to talk and make sure that we were compatible before meeting. He was clear he wanted more than just a casual relationship and was ready to commit. This was a novel approach. I was intrigued enough to go along with it. Then he suggested that we take our conversation off the site and chat on Skype. Now, I'm not the greatest fan of Skype. The problem with a Skype date is that you must think about the state of the flat in view of the camera, as well as making yourself look great and remembering not to pick at your nose, eyes, ears nervously. It's an anxiety diva's nightmare. Since then, I've realised that the best place to Skype from is your bed, but then you have to be careful about the body slump. So many things to consider. But prepare I did my singles, and I ensured that the lighting was just enough to seduce without looking like I was selling my goodies online. I would like to thank the lovely guy in Peter Jones who helped me pick out a lamp. I had to look effortlessly casual at home. This meant getting out of my daytime PJs. When he called, I answered, and there he was, and he looked better in the flesh. Wearing his loose grey muscle man t-shirt, I could see and hear him typing away furiously whilst I was talking. Hold on, why was he still typing if we were Skyping? Him typing. Hi, how are you? Me. Fine, dear, but why are you still typing? Is your mic not working? Him typing. Shh, we need to be quiet. Me, but why? Him typing. I don't want to wake the dog. He'd forgotten that he told me and the dating website that he didn't have any pets. Clearly, whether he had a dog or wife or girlfriend, we were not a match.com. The only slight satisfaction I got was the Skype sound when you end a call. I quickly blocked the dog whisperer and put on Pretty Woman because that was the closest I was going to get to a fairy tale ending. So that's from Cupid's Cock-Ups, which was the first one. And then I thought I would do Date 11. So if I just explain Frogs and Fuckeries, a few years ago I decided to get a bit more serious about dating and really focus my attentions on it as opposed to just randomly falling in and out of dating scenarios. And so I decided to do a 40-day dating challenge and try and date 40 guys. And I thought, I probably won't even get to 6, you know, because I'm a catch. So, but actually, I actually went through all 40. So clearly, it wasn't as successful as I would have liked. But I'm going to read you Date 11, and his name, the date's called Catfish Carl. So this was a Tinder date, and after he answered my deal breaker question correctly, which is the best type of Haribo packet, we fell into easy conversation. It was a Sunday, I had shopping and cleaning to do, so to be honest, any distraction was welcome. Turned out he was coming out of a 6-year relationship with an older woman who lived outside of London. He was now renting, but I definitely noticed that the transition from in something to out of something was ongoing. He told me about the relationship and where it went wrong, and to be honest, I think as her kids grew up, she grew tired of having a 42-year-old child in the house too, i.e. Carl. But there was something really likable about him, and I had not laughed like that with a guy in a while. I felt a connection. Date 11 was looking promising indeed. He was my height, which as a tomboy wasn't a problem, as I could legitimately wear Converse to every single date. We chatted about a lot of things, and the banter flowed. He talked about how hard it was out there for a short man, and I made the appropriate cooing noises. Look, it's hard out there for everyone, I said. This dating lot wasn't a joke. You had to go through all this shit to get the one person you can maybe tolerate for more than a few consecutive dates. It's a part-time job. We agreed to meet on a Tuesday in Hammersmith outside the Millie's cookie stand. This was just an excuse for me to buy cookies as I'd forgotten about being gluten-free, but he wasn't to know this. Then I had the audacity to ask him if his name, Carl, was his real name. He hesitated and said yes. My spidey senses went into overdrive as I had a feeling of deja vu. I asked him again, he said all would be revealed when we met. The next day we were texting and I asked him to send a photo as I needed to send it to my DDSS, designated dating security sister. The DDSS is an important role in a single woman's life as someone must always know where you are and with whom. It's imperative that you give them as much detail as you can. Poor Linda has been overworked of late and was struggling to keep them all straight in her head. Photos were therefore a must. Then this dude started asking way too many questions like, was I a man? Really? You spoke to me yesterday, saw my photos, and now you're doing the gender check? I told him to quit stalling, and with that, he sent me a photo. Now, the photo on Tinder was of a square-jawed someone with brooding eyes and those lips that make you think of mouth-watering opal fruit adverts. If you're too young to remember opal fruits, you're too young to be reading this book. I hadn't found him attractive, but he hadn't offended me in any way. This was not the same effect that was induced with the photo he sent me, which was of someone completely different. This guy was overweight, round-faced with lips that looked like they could swallow you. On top of that, he wasn't even smiling. It was not mouth-watering at all. And to top it all off, it was taken in the field, making him look like he just buried a dead body. I asked him if it was his cousin. I was still hopeful, you see. He joked around that question a bit. He said that both of them were him, but they were taken 24 years apart. What was this? Back to the Future, but in different locations with two different people. I called him because it hit me that I had just been catfished, yet he still insisted that he was the same person in both photos. We argued, and he said that he knew I wouldn't want to meet him now because I didn't like what I'd seen. And initially, I had agreed to still meet him the next day, but a later conversation with a friend made me realise that he was a liar and not to be trusted. If he lied about the simple things like this, then he would be taking another selfie of himself after he buried me in the same field. This was not the happily ever after story I was looking for. He's no longer on Tinder now, and he says he won't return. I did hear from him a few weeks later when he said that he felt that we'd gotten on really well, so should we still meet up? Needless to say, by then I'd moved on because time waits for no woman, and a catfish is just too damn risky for me to contemplate swimming with every day. So that's kind of a snippet of my dating journey and my book journey. And basically, I think the overall message for me is that yes, it's important to go out there and date, etc. But you know, you can take it quite seriously at times, and it's to keep it light and to remember there is a funny side, especially when you're going through bad date after bad date consecutively. And yeah, I think that's kind of my message to the group.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. You are amazing. This is her second book with us, and we're going to be publishing many more. I have to say, Chelsea, you really, really brightened up the start of my 2021, because the first book came out middle of December, beginning of December, and this second book we were working on at the beginning of this year. Obviously, a long lead up before that, but it just kept me laughing so much. It's fantastically written, it's hilarious, and I take my hat off to you for going on 40 consecutive dates over the course of 40 days. I don't know how you did it, but that just deserves a massive round of applause for that. So Chelsea's links are in the chat box. Chelsea, if you want to put your blogging website in there as well, that'd be fantastic in any ways that people can contact you. Please do check out Chelsea. Can I just ask, if you're watching right now, have you ever been catfished? Who wants to admit to that? Anyone ever been catfished before? No? You say that like you're upset. No, I haven't. No, you don't want to be catfished. All right, brilliant. So I was going to be up next, so I'm going to swap it around a little bit. We are going to hear from Sharon Fevrier, again, one of our first authors, who has written Blossom Tree. Absolutely love this cover here. Love, Burn, Rise. Sharon, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with. Can you hear me?
I can hear you indeed. Hello.
Okay. So I am Sharon Fevrier. You can hear me okay? Yeah?
Perfectly, yeah.
Okay. Author of Blossom Tree. I can't see myself on the screen. I don't know what's going on, but I'll continue.
I can see you. You're coming up. I pinned you up. I don't know. We can see you though.
Okay. So I'm the author of Blossom Tree. I wrote and published Blossom Tree on the 15th of March 2018. So it's almost my 3rd year anniversary. So I'm really happy to be presenting my book with you today. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Luton, Bedfordshire, to Dominican parents. I'm a parent myself. I'm a mother. I work in special educational needs, and I have a visual impairment due to sickle cell disease. So there are a couple of reasons why I wrote Blossom Tree. Firstly, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could write something that would be compelling and people would enjoy despite my vision impairment. I think often we're told, you know, or we even tell ourselves sometimes that we're not able to achieve because of, maybe because we can't do this because of. But I just, I think for myself, I wanted to prove that I was able to write and be successful at publishing a book. But the second reason was also that I wanted to share some of my journey with the readers. I wanted to share and raise awareness of sickle cell disease, toxic relationships, domestic abuse, just to kind of highlight and raise awareness really of some of these topics. So Blossom Tree is split into 3 sections: love, burn, and rise. The first section, love. Love is that feeling when you want to be with somebody, you like that emotional connection, that physical, that sexual connection. You always want to be with each other. You value each other. You know, you want to make each other happy. You're walking on air when you see that person, you get butterflies and that tingling sensation in your stomach. You kind of feel that when you don't see that person, you miss that person. You want to spend all your time. My main character, Chantel, in Blossom Tree, she met a person, she met a guy, his name was Andre, and she decided to embark on a relationship with him. And it was very much about holding his interest in her heart and vice versa. He was very charming. And, you know, when you think of love languages, you think of, you know, maybe her love language was words of affirmation, just being told the things that maybe he thought she wanted to hear. And she wanted a future. She wanted to think about settling down, and she could see a future with him. Everything was rosy. It was like the honeymoon period, until somebody says something in the relationship that could hurt or upset the person, whether it's words or actions. But it's no longer a perfect relationship. It then transfers into something that's maybe imperfect, but at least you know that somebody has flaws. And at the end of the day, we all have flaws. It's about whether or not we choose to manage those flaws, continue in the relationship, or move on. The next section is burn. So Chantel, she had 2 main issues within her relationship. One was her relationship and the other one was her health. So firstly, starting with some of the challenges she had in her relationship. Everything started, it was rosy, everything was nice, as it normally is within a relationship, the honeymoon period. But then she started feeling that he was insecure. He started saying things that made her feel on edge. She wasn't sure about some of the actions he was taking and some of the suggestions, things he had asked her to do. He had trust issues. Now, a lot of these issues were about fear. I guess the 2 strong emotions are love and fear. And he was very much driven by both. But fear was because he wanted to keep her safe, keep her to himself, so that nobody else would kind of come into the relationship and kind of cause upset. All of this fear, all of these challenges and the difficulties, it resulted in conflict. So there was a lot of conflict in the relationship. And, you know, it's not very nice when you're in a relationship and there's constant arguments, you know. And I would imagine that lots of people at this moment in time are feeling very trapped. That's what some point within the book, Chantel talked about being trapped. And there was a particular chapter called Trapped, where she feels that she can't get out of the situation. I would imagine with COVID, with lockdown, with so many people being in abusive relationships, many people would be trying to find a way out, but they might not be able to. They can't see a way out, they can't see a way forward. And it's that burning sensation when you're feeling really hurt and you're so upset, but what can you do? You have no answers. You can talk to your friends, you can talk to other people, but actually ultimately in the end, it's about you making that decision. The second part of her burn challenges was relating to her health. So like I said, I have sickle cell disease, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this and the impact of sickle cell, which affects 15,000 people in the United Kingdom. So it's really important to kind of raise awareness, let people know, you know somebody, or you might know somebody that might have it. And they go through daily challenges. But Chantel's challenge was that she became visually impaired. So I want you to think about this for a moment, just closing your eyes and having that thought that when you wake up in the morning, you can't see. Everything is pitch black. It's dark. You feel your way around because you can't actually see your way around. And with time, Chantel's eyesight improved a little bit, that she was able to go to the corner shop, for example. I just want you to think about the challenges of going to a corner shop, which could be picking up a tin of beans, coming home, opening the tin of beans, realizing it's beans and sausages. Who likes beans and sausages? Some people might do, but some people might not. You know, these are some of the challenges she had. Can you imagine waiting to come home, waiting for your partner to come home and reading your mail, vital mail that you know has come from the hospital and you've had operations and you want somebody to read that mail, but you can't. You have to wait for your partner to come home. You're dependent. Then you wait for your partner to come home to give you that information that you require. Can you imagine all the anguish, the anxiety, the fear, not knowing what the future would hold? Will you be able to work? Will you be able to see your child's face? And then can you imagine all that with a toxic relationship and a man over your shoulder telling you things that are not helpful to the situation? Well, these are some of the things that Chantel had to endure. But moving forward into Rise, Chantel found that she had to create an exit plan, because this wasn't for her. This wasn't the relationship for her. You know, we're supposed to set standards for ourselves, for our children, for the people around us. We're supposed to live life. We're supposed to have freedom within our relationships. Chantel didn't have that. And so as a result, she had to move forward and find a way that was more positive for her to live her life, to enjoy her life, not endure, but enjoy her life. So, you know, there are many things that we can do with regards to, you know, possibly being in an abusive relationship. Now, abuse takes many forms. We could talk about psychological, emotional, financial, spiritual, verbal abuse, neglect. There are so many different forms, physical abuse, sexual abuse. It's not about enduring this, because at the end of the day, we only have one life to live. So it's about moving forward and finding a way that suits us, that makes us happy, that makes us want to live every day, that makes us want to see the blue skies, that makes us want to see the blossom trees. And that's what really the essence of Blossom Tree is about. It's about finding that love within ourselves, or, you know, moving forward, we have to love ourselves before we can love anybody else. And if we truly love ourselves, then we're not going to put up with situations that really don't serve us any purpose. I would urge you to think about Blossom Tree as a toolkit, a tool book. Think about the red flags that are in the book. You know, if the book is not for you, it might be for somebody that you know that's trapped in a situation right about now, because I'm sure there's many people that are in that situation. Think about who you can turn to, relationship counselling, your friends, his family, your family. Think about maybe you need to go to a refuge, a woman's refuge, a men's refuge, because there are men going out there that are out there in that right now in those kind of situations where they are facing abuse from their partners. So think about how you can move forward, and don't be stuck in a situation. You know, don't compromise yourself until there's nothing left of you, because the reality is, you know, it's all about your essence. You have to hold on to your essence. So if you want to catch me, if you want to find me, I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is Blossom Tree Love. I always forget. I'm on Instagram as Ms. Sharona, Ms_Sharona. I've got a website, www.sharonfebruary.com. You can buy Blossom Tree on Amazon. all major retailers, online retailers as well. And you can DM me if you want a signed copy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Amazing. That's fantastic. Again, like Marcia's book, you were one of my first authors, and when that manuscript came through, I literally, you two, and you just gave me sleepless nights because I just had to find out what was happening. I could not stop reading your book. It's fantastic, and it's amazing to actually, so I'm going to say this personally, just seeing you grow in terms of you speaking, Sharon, as well. Over the last 4 years, every time I see you speak, it just gets better and better. It's amazing. So, as remember, publishing a book isn't just about the publication of the book, it's about the whole vision, you know, doing speaking engagements. You might want to do an online course, doing workshops, you know, you might want to turn it into, if you have a book, you have a business. If you have a business, you having a book can really complement your business. So it's the whole package. So I'm just going to unmute now. So thank you, Sharon. Joanna, who's one of our authors, says, I've read The Decision and Blossom Tree, both really good books. I can identify with some aspects of the difficulties both ladies wrote about in my past relationships. Thank you, Joanna. So I'm going to now speak about my book, Mr. Wrong, and just share some extracts. And actually, I want to pick up on things that both Sharon and Marcia had said, which is about taking responsibility for our decisions and our actions and our choices. And I found through doing that, we come from such a more empowered place. So if you just joined my book, my very first book, which actually set up the whole of this Conscious Dreams publishing community, was Mr. Wrong. So it's a collection of stories written by women across the world who've encountered this infamous Mr. Wrong character. But more than that, it has success stories as well as stories from men too. Do men get a bad rap? What role do women play? What role do we have in the children, the sons that we choose to bring up? What role do we have in terms of the men we are friends with? Do we pull them up on their behavior in terms of how they treat and speak to women? What role do we have when it comes to the people that we're attracted to and the people that we allow into our energy? Because again, I said at the beginning, I believe that our external world is a reflection of our internal world. So if you keep on replacing Peter with Paul, for example, there's got to be a limiting belief system within that is keeping you in that same vibrational field as that person you keep attracting in until you learn the lesson and start to move in a different direction. And so Mr. Wrong is a very tongue-in-cheek title. It normally raises a few eyebrows with the men. And usually what I get is like, what about Mr. Right? What about Mrs. Wrong? It's like, yeah, there's a Mrs. Wrong, but this book's called Mr. Wrong. You can write Mrs. Wrong if you want. But actually, at the end, it does question, is there such a thing as Mr. Wrong or right? Is there such a thing as good or bad? Or do we need to actually be right for ourselves before we can be right for anybody else? And I think that really is the deeper message. So the beginning, you have the Mr. Wrong characters. So it started off as a tongue-in-cheek exercise. Women sent in their dating disaster stories, but there are stories of women who've overcome abuse and created a platform for them to share their stories and actually empower other people through the sharing of their stories. I'm going to read some light-hearted ones for you. If you can identify with these characters, just say, I've been there in the chat. Okay, this one is Mr. Dreamer. Appearance: has a refined glow about him, a dashing smile and hypnotic eyes. Movement: his movements are delicate, smooth and precise. His movement on exit differs from Mr. Drifter, another character, as he moves at lightning speed. Typical phrases: it's you and me, baby, all the way. It's you and me all the way, baby. Is it destiny that you and I met? Am I the one? Tone of voice: silky and enchantingly smooth. Mr. Dreamer has lots of dreams, hopes and ambitions, but nothing written down on paper. Mr. Dreamer is often a charming man with a silver tongue and silky words that could convert the greatest cynic into a dedicated disciple. Mr. Dreamer lures his women with fanciful words, flattery and flamboyant ideas for the future. He will sweep you off your feet and into his cloud. However, sooner or later, you're wading through the cloud of dust, wondering where he's gone. It was then you realised that you had no real intention of settling down, landing that dream job, putting that sparkly ring on your finger, walking you down the aisle, being that fantastic father he never had, or growing old together with you. Did he ever exist? Or was it a mere illusion? Leave well alone. If anyone can relate to that, just say I've been there in the chat. No judgment here. It's not about judging. It's just about sharing. I've definitely met some Mr. Dreamers. Okay, next is been there, thanks. Next is Mr. Lucy. Appearance, large goggle eyes and gormless expression. Often has a mouth open and has a tendency to dribble. Movement, shifty revolving eyes and a revolving head that can turn a full owl-like 360 degrees. Typical phrase. I'm just looking at her t-shirt. What were you saying? Why are you always accusing me? Tone of voice, soft and reassuring. This guy has a revolving eye. Whilst looking you in the eye and telling you the best thing since sliced bread, his revolving eye scans the area for a sandwich. This one is easy to spot. It's the darting eyes, snatching furtive looks at any attractive female within his range, or the greedy licking of lips, like a kid in a candy store, about to dip his hand in the pick and mix trough. Other giveaways, a blatant goggle-eyed drop jaw and gormless gawp over your shoulder as he puts his hand on your knee, reassuringly. Unless you like to share, he isn't for you. Leave well alone. So there are two examples of the Mr. Wrong characters. If you have encountered a Mr. Lucy, just say I've been there too. I have met Mr. Lucy. So as I said, you have the funny characters in there. You have the funny dating disaster stories, which are quite entertaining, made me feel a lot better. But then you also have people who've overcome some more toxic relationships. And more than that, this book actually has a serious element. I always believe that laughter is the best medicine. And I believe in the duality of laughter and, you know, learning and insight and self-discovery. And so there are exercises and reflections in here. There's quizzes, there's self-introspection, a self-development aspect to it as well. But chapter 12 was actually one of my favorite chapters to write, because I got to interview the men and hear from a male perspective how they found being a man. Are they under pressure to, you know, be a man, not cry, not show their emotions? How do they deal with heartbreak? So I'm going to share chapter 12. It's a man's world, a male perspective. We've heard from women all over. No, that's not the right one. Sorry. We are going to hear, okay, Damsel in Distress and Mr. Prince Charming. Just want to add something about that. I have never been into fairy tales. As a kid, I was always a person who felt sorry for the big bad wolf who had his stomach slit open for doing what wolves do. Okay, you know, I was always the one who was just like, why has Snow White kissed this man? She's never met him. She doesn't even know his name. She doesn't even ask what his values are, and she's kissing him and getting married. I don't get it. So I do think I do think that fairy tales have a lot to answer for, because I think it puts pressure on women and also teaches our young children. This is my personal view. I'd love to hear what you think. I think some of these stories teach young children that you aren't anything until you meet some Prince Charming, and it teaches you that life is about fairy tales, and, you know, someone can come and save you and you're a damsel in distress, and we don't need to get to know that person. It's about the material and becoming a princess. Boo. Anyway, just went off on one then. So this is Damsel in Distress and Prince Charming, Mr. Prince Charming. The underlying topic that weaves these stories together is heartbreak. All the authors above have experienced heartbreak. These are the male stories. As a result, some have become hardened and others have simply repeated this heartbreak by breaking the hearts of women they form relationships with. How do we begin to deal with heartbreak and hurt? And does it differ across the genders? Men are taught to be strong, to be tough, and to stand unfazed and undefeated in the face of adversity. From the dawn of time, men were given the role of hunters and gatherers, protectors and providers. And they were taught that the way to deal with problems is to fight it out in wars and duels. Fairy tale stories teach us that women are damsels in distress, who wait as long as it takes for their prince or knight in shining armour to sweep them off their feet and rescue them from their loneliness. Cinderella teaches young girls that we must suffer in order to gain happiness, and that if we're good enough and wish hard enough, then we will get the man we deserve. And of course, the man is rich and powerful, someone who can uplift their rescued damsel into a life of majestic bliss. Rapunzel relies on a passing prince, doesn't even know him, to save her from her imprisonment. And fairer than fair Snow White is rescued by another loved up prince. These poor damsels in distress rely on these men to save them from the lives that have been inflicted on them through jealousy, hate, bewitchment from evil-like characters. Furthermore, in a heartbeat, they accept these men as their perfect husbands with no sense of discernment whatsoever. Fairy tale stories have a lot to answer for. The word damsel, the word damsel comes from the French word, I can't say it, demoiselle, meaning young lady. And the term damsel in distress is a translation of the French demoiselle de, I don't know why I'm trying to pronounce this. Anyone French here? Demoiselle in distress, something like that. Sorry about that. It's an archaic term that can be traced back to the knight errant found in medieval songs and folklore. Knight errants believed that the saving of such women was an essential part of his raison d'être. I need to practice my French, or reason for being, of being. Courtney talks about the demigod Perseus in the Clash of the Titans. His whole reason for being was to court and marry the beautiful princess Andromeda, daughter of King Cephas. I think that's how you say it, but not before a series of grueling obstacles and challenges. Through conditioning, men are taught to fight and win. You would never see a hero, warrior, or knight crying over a woman or talking it out with his mates. He would never talk of his heartbreak to his warrior or knight friends whilst they listened intently over a hot cup of cocoa and passed him the tissues. No, he would win. And if he did not win, he would move on to the next quest with the wind in his hair or his head. So much of this has translated into modern society and the way gender roles are defined in relationships. As women, we tend to talk so much more about our feelings, our hurts, and our pain, and begin healing through listening of and validation of our pain. In doing so, we can begin to learn valuable lessons, let go and move on. The stories above reveal underlying pain beneath the nonchalance and emotional disassociation the authors display as a means of protection within relationships. As women, we often forget societal pressures placed on men in a patriarchal society, where Mr. Dreamer wants to be Prince Charming and Mr. X Factor can't display or heal his hurt. Let's not forget though, ladies, we're no damsels in distress. Just as we have the power to heal, support and nurture, we also have the power to protect, provide and create. Just as men need the balance of both their masculine and feminine aspects, we do too. It's yin and yang, baby. So those are 3 extracts from Mr. Wrong. Here's the book. I just want to very briefly share, because I actually don't talk about this book very much. I published a book called 7 Shades of Love, which is a collection of poems from women and men across the world. I started off writing poetry. I absolutely love poetry. It looks at this idea of what is love. Love can be love for self, love for your family, friendship, and it's all written under different colours, the colours of the rainbow, and it looks at the Eastern and Western associations with the colours. Long to get into now, but it's called 7 Shades of Love. And I just want to end with a poem which defines what I think real love is. Real love. So this is written in 2006, nearly 20 years ago. Gosh. Real love is about respect, not about keeping the other in check. Love is inspiring the other to keep aspiring, keep evolving, together solving. Real love doesn't exist in time, nor is it intricate. It's infinite, simple and intimate. Real love is about acceptance, acceptance of all that was, is, and will be. Love isn't wrapped up and frilly. Real love hasn't got much time for ribbons and bows, fancy lines and prose. It's not about material shows. Love cannot decrease, it only grows. Real love is unconditional, regardless, facadeless. Real love doesn't come with terms and conditions, with booby traps and secret missions. Love works best when each other listens. Love needs space to move and flourish. Love needs love for it to nourish. Love isn't fearful or insecure. Love isn't addictive, needing more and more. Real love is unconditional, everlasting and true. Love is for all, not for the few. Real love is seeing my hair in the morning and not running a mile, at the worst of his jokes still raising a smile, encouraging them in the right direction, even if it means seeing less of them. Real love doesn't judge, nor can it be measured. Real love is permanent and should forever be treasured. Real love is respecting each other's individuality. Real love isn't binding, love sets you free. Real love doesn't diminish when they aren't who you want them to be, program them to be. Real love is the power of honesty. Real love has no expectations, only the truth we see, truth in the other in all their shining glory, the good, the bad, the ugly. Love is to truth as simple is to be. That's the end. Thank you. I haven't read that poem for years. I haven't read that. I think I wrote that when I was 26. So yeah, I still agree with it. I think that's what love is. So it's really interesting to hear what other people thought love meant to them as well. So thank you. We have reached the end of the first section, so we can throw out some questions. If anyone who's watching has any questions for any of the authors, please do unmute your mics and ask away. Marcia says, remember Adam's rib, the societal norm is that women exist because of men, which is a very changing view. Yeah, exactly. Totally agree.
There was a question earlier, Danny, from Yeshiba, about her book that has in the pipeline, children's book that's been inspired by mangoes.
I saw that. We're gonna ask questions about publishing and writing your own books at the end, if that's all right. So anything that is for the authors, anything to do with love, relationships. If you want to make a statement, you can unmute your mic and just share with us what you think a healthy relationship is. It's a debate. Just would love to hear your view. But if you have any questions for the author specifically, that'd be great. Marcia, hello.
So I just wanted to say, the French bits that you actually tried to go through in your book, which is quite funny. So it's Andromeda, right?
Thank you.
And she's with Perseus.
Okay.
And it's raison d'etre.
Thank you very much. I shall get one-to-one with you afterwards.
I wanted to say, however, that I think everything that you said in the poem was really powerful. So I want to thank you for that. And I think everything that you said in that poem was really true. But often we forget that that's what we all want.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for that in somebody else.
Yeah.
As opposed to making sure that we have that within ourselves.
Exactly.
Because if you have that within yourself, if you don't care about how your hair looks and you're not judging, and many of us do, the person that comes into your aura, going back to what Sharon was saying, the person that comes into your aura, when they see you come in, because you're the light, they will make sure they look the other way. And the reason why they attach themselves is because you're not sure. And if we're not sure, it's easy for them to attach themselves to somebody who's unsure. So that thing about being clear about who you are, what makes you tick, what you like, what you don't like, many of us don't spend enough time understanding what drives us. And those thoughts are so important, because once you are clear about who you are, no one can try and change you. They're not even going to try. It's like when you see people in the, you know, in the shop, and you know, they could see the customer that's coming who ain't having no nonsense, and it's all their aura just says it. I'm tolerating no nonsense. Okay, as opposed to the customer that you can see is coming, and that customer looks like they can be swayed. So it's that thing. That's the energy, the frequency that we emit, and that's what we need to work on before we start thinking about what is it that we want from a partner. Because nobody from the external, nobody on the outside is going to give you what you want if you can't give it to yourself. That's
100%.
the message.
100% agree. That's it. You can't love from an empty cup. You've got to have that self-acceptance for yourself first and understand what that actually means. Okay. Inouye says, what's the one thing you can tell our children, male and female, to support them in aligning themselves with the person that's right for them? But I think Marcia definitely added a good dimension to that in terms of, you know, getting clear on yourself and your values, who you are as a person, being whole in who you are, and not looking outside of yourself for that fulfillment, to complete you, if that makes sense. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to add to that or answer that question? Even if you're speaking and haven't spoken, you might want to say something.
Can I just say then that if it's the case, and that's what I'm going to say on this subject, I'm watching my son. My son has a girlfriend. He's been with for quite a while now. But I tell you, I watched him, and he's 24 years old, and it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed. And I'm using that word purposely. I was embarrassed about just how little thought I put into the whole concept of relationship and how much thought he put into it. I mean, he went at this like you would go for a job interview. He went at this like you're buying a new car. I mean, it was everything. What's under the hood, what the color was, the spec. I mean, and I'm thinking, wow, you're going through all of that? He's going, Mom, you cannot mess around with these kind of things. If you're going for the person that's going to be your life partner, it needs effort. I didn't give no effort. Does he like me? Do I like him? Hey, we're good to go. And then when it went pear-shaped, I'm like, why? Why? How did this happen? How much thought did I give into it? I tell you, when I think about buying my car, I put some serious work in. That was 2 years in the making.
Wow.
Okay, can I add a little to that as well? Hi, Nazish.
Hello, say your name so I can find you, and then I'll pin you up. Is that Nazish?
Nazish Shamim here.
Hello.
Nazish. Hi. To answer along with what Marcia says, I absolutely applaud you. Thank you. That was absolutely on the nose, Marcia. I couldn't agree more. As far as children are concerned, I don't have children myself, but what I can say, and this goes for not just children, everybody, if you can align yourself with what's going on in your heart, right? If you can know what's really going on in there, if you can learn to tune in to your inner voice, then you can find out who you really are. And when you know who you really are, I mean the who you are, not the what you do or the things that society tell you should be, but the who you are, then you can align with the person who's supposed to come into your life and be your life partner. And that takes some people years, some people never get there, and some people, and especially what I find amazing is the new generations, the younger people, like you say, your son, Marcia, they are so much more in tune than I ever was, you know, they get it. I don't know how they do, but they do get it. And you just have to wake them up a little bit and say, ding-a-ling, you know, take a little time to be quiet, to meditate. And I'll tell you more about it in my book in a bit, but how to sit on your rock, as I call it, and hear what you really feel and what you think and what you know about yourself. And it's only that tiny voice that is absolutely clear and spot on in aligning you, child, your adult, whatever, you can find yourself. And then you can find the right person. Okay, that's it.
Is it okay if I add to that?
Of course, go ahead. Tell us your name so I can find you.
Right, yeah, it's Amos. Hey guys.
Oh, hey Amos.
Yeah, I think it's very important for personally for me, I've been in a relationship for 3 years now with my partner, And what I've learned is that it's important for you, for an individual, before they even get into a relationship or wider relationship, to know the root of their self concerning the reason why you may push people away, the reason why you may get angry at certain things, your little triggers and whatnot. Because what I've learned in my relationship, that a relationship's a partnership, you get me? And in order for a partnership to work, you have to work together. You have to be transparent, you have to be open, you have to be very vigilant, and you have to be very, how can I say, mindful of the other person's feelings and mindful of your own. It's no longer, oh, it's just about me and, oh, I want this and I want that. Yeah, it's good to know what you want in yourself, but at the same time, it's good to know that, okay, the things that I want, the way it comes across may not be the way that this person understands. I've learned in my relationship, I've always been a person on communication, and I've learned in my relationship that communication is so vital. And it's not like, there's a saying that everyone knows, it's not what you say, it's how you say. Sometimes you can say the most important, hard things to somebody, and it's the way it comes across which really helps you in relationship. Also, it's about, like I said, finding the root in yourself. I've learned in myself a lot in my relationship about, what can I say? I've learned about how seeing past relationships in my family, basically, or say in my mother's relationship or whatnot, how I've picked on certain traits that's like, oh, Amos, you can't bring that into this relationship. And it's wrong for us to say, oh, well, that's just me. I'm just a loud person. I'm just an argumentative person. That's just me. Even though you're used to that, and even though that was your environment, doesn't mean it's a healthy environment. Sometimes it's not about the seeds. Sometimes it's about the soil that you're planting it in. Half the time, the seed is a good seed. You can be a very good person, but the soil that you was planted in can be so corrupt that when you go into a relationship, your normal is very abnormal, because you realize that, okay, I can't do this. I may be able to shout at my brothers and we can be cool like that, but with another person and they come from a quiet household, you got to understand the way I deliver this and the way I talk to my partner, you get me, is a thing that I've got to fix. I can't just depend on her to be like, oh, you know, you just got to accept me for how I am. I've got to look at my root and my soil and be like, okay, while I'm in this relationship, like I said, it's not about me. It's about how can I adapt? How can I personally look at myself and think, yeah, like this needs to change. So yeah, I totally agree with what you guys have been saying about you.
Thank you. Amos, that's such a valuable contribution. Amos is one of our authors, one of our first authors, who will be reciting poetry for us a bit later on, words from my heart. But I wanted to pick up on some of what you said about communication being key. I absolutely agree with you. I think that is the most fundamental. Sometimes people think, what is the most important thing in a relationship? Love, I want to be loved. But what is love? Love is loving someone enough to understand how they need to be communicated with. For example, when you look at love languages, do we even know what our love language is? Are we battling somebody who's showing you love in the way that they want to be loved, but not necessarily knowing how you want to be loved? So for me, words of affirmation are important. You know, encouragement, support, physical touch. But if you're with somebody who shows you love through fixing your laptop or fixing your car, for example, their love language is words, acts of service. But if you're looking at that and you're just thinking, well, I don't need you to fix my laptop, I need you to give me a hug, you're constantly clashing because you're not recognizing that that's how they show love, and they're not able to meet your needs of showing you love in the way that you need it. So I guess it's about that self-understanding of ourselves first, as Marcia was saying, but also communicating with somebody in a way that they need to be communicated with, as opposed to how we think we should communicate with them. So that was a really good point. Thanks.
Danny, can I just come in and answer? It's Sharon.
Sharon, let me find you. Hello.
Can you? Yeah. Just going back to Anonwe's question, with regards to children and showing love to children, I think what Amos said about planting, making sure that the seed is planted in fertile soil, that makes 100%. But the challenge is, if you have two parents, they're co-parenting, they're not living together, then you've got very different views and opinions and beliefs feeding into the child. But I think as the child gets older, as long as you've done your bit and you've tried to install as much information, love, and whatever not from your point of view, if you think that your point of view is valid, then hopefully as that child gets older, that child will develop with your thoughts, views and opinions. But it depends on the influence as well of the other parent. So, you know, there are many people walking around this planet with very mixed views and opinions, and then they want to get into relationships. So it is it's a struggle, it's a challenge, and you can only hope and pray that, you know, anything that's fed into that child is from a good place.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Anyone want to
Can
add
I say
to
something
that?
as well?
Yeah, if you just say
Yeah.
your name as you before you speak, then I can
hi.
find you.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Hi.
I
Oh,
think
fine.
Nadia's
Hello.
on. We've both been trying to get in. Yeah, just to add to that, I think, I mean, I agree with everything everyone's saying. It's got to come from yourself first, and I'm going to speak about self-love and that connection to yourself and getting clear on your values. But and I think we live in such a society now, and when I was a teenager, there was no dating apps or shows or stuff like this. So it's so kind of like transit, like so like next, oh, they haven't ticked this box. And so we're in such a society where we're looking for that person to tick the boxes, but we haven't actually looked within ourselves. And I think that I believe that every relationship, everything from my experience, everything that was all my repeated negative patterns that were happening in relationships and my triggers was a reflection of the unhealed parts of myself. Yeah. And so when it comes to children, my belief is that we have to really change the system, and it begins with we got to start becoming self-responsibility for ourselves and mastery of our mind, body and emotions, and we need to start it. Teach children this from a very young age, how to tune in to their thoughts and their feelings, and to be able to process and integrate it through practices. Maybe it's meditation, awareness of the breath, self-awareness, because most people are going through life completely totally unaware of their self, and then projecting onto their relationships, and you know that will mirror in their relationships. And so if we can teach that and instill that into our kids and children from a young age, and it will be a conscious effort and practice, because yeah, what we see out there reflected and through these apps and these dating shows, and when I watch dating shows sometimes, it's my little guilty pleasure, is that I always notice that people say, I just want to meet someone who makes me happy. And I'm like, no, there is no one out there that is going to make you happy. That's within. And so we need to somehow we're all born being happy within ourselves, right? At somewhere down the line, that gets interrupted, it gets disrupted, and we start to look outside ourselves. So we've got to kind of really start from the early years.
Thank you.
That's my answer.
That fits in really nicely with your book, Self-Care for Life in the City, starting with self. And I love what you said about self-mastery. And going back to Mr. Wrong, I can put my hand up and say, look, the book's called Mr. Wrong. I'm not Mrs. Right. I wasn't right for myself. You know, we've all got unhealed trauma and unhealed wounds. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to go completely, but it's about awareness, understanding. Everyone that we meet in our life is an opportunity to learn something about ourselves, even if it's hard. What are those unhealed parts of ourselves that keep playing out with the same sort of person that we need to address? So I like to look at relationships as a really great school to learn in, and not, as you said, seeking something outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel whole. So that's lovely. Thank you. Ruth says, one of the values we hold should be love. When we can show, demonstrate, live, talk and walk in love. When we can show, demonstrate, live, love, talk and walk in love. Lovely. Thank you, Ruth. There was one other person who's trying to come in earlier. If you say your name, I can find you.
Hi, Danny, it's Nadia.
Hey, yeah.
Hi. I was actually just going to say what Francesca's talking about as well, and that's what my books are about as well, but I'll talk about them a little later on. It's about the conditioning, how we're all born love, we're all born this bundle of joy, and how we get conditioned just through life And one of my books is to help you to sort of re-examine that conditioning. And the other book is for teenagers and young adults to help them to really know who they are. Because I think the problem is that we don't know who we are. And when you don't know who you are, you can't love who you are. So it's about sort of going back and really understanding your own values. And then instead of trying to get somebody else to fill you, is to know that you are a complete and whole being. And we are not ready until we love ourselves completely. We're not ready to then take a journey with a partner. So we've got to be two individual souls moving forward together. And I think with my book and with work we have to do in ourselves is to become complete, and then know that we can move forward with an equal partner going through life as two whole complete beings, instead of another person trying to complete you or be your other half.
Completely. Thank you so much. Don't we have an amazing panel? If you think so, just type. I feel like we're in church right now. Just type. We're going to church. Type yes in the chat box. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the second round of authors now, and we're going to be starting with the awesome. We had a little bit from him before. He will now be joining us. Amos Pinnock. He is the author of Words from My Heart. So he was one of our very first authors, spoken word artist and Conscious Dreams publishing author. Where are you, Amos? Are you with us?
Hello.
Oh, here you are.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello. Oh snap! I'm supposed to talk now. Oh, hi guys.
Are you ready?
yeah. Yes. So I wrote the book Words from My Heart. From a well, it started as me just venting really. I in my younger years, I'm an old man now. I'm 26, so I'm really old. Got some grey hairs. So in my younger years, I was somebody who constantly wanted to find love. It's kind of weird me saying this, but when I was really young, like 9ish. Me and my boys, our dream was to get married. Our dream was to get married, drive a car, have kids by 21, all that jazz. Literally, that was our thing. And I can truly say I got that from my mother. She's an amazing woman, absolutely amazing woman. She shows love, she shows sacrifice, and she, through her nature, she taught her 4 boys that love is also an example. Well, no, sacrifice is an example of love. And from that, I kind of inherited a heart where I would always want to give to people, always will give more than I receive emotionally. And I found myself hopping in and out of relationships because I just wanted to find love. Growing up now, I realized that I was in love with the concept of love instead of actually trying to be in a relationship. And I think that's one important thing that people need to realize as well, that sometimes we can be so in love with the concept of being in love that we're not actually in love with the person. We're just in love with the fantasy of, oh, I want to treat someone nice. But half the time it's just like, you just want to be, affectionate and just all that stuff, but you don't actually know the seriousness of being in a relationship. So I found myself constantly going in and out of relationships, always wanting to find the one and whatnot. And because of that and my heart and my nature, I always found myself giving 100% straight away, because I felt in my heart, if you give 100% straight away, you show the person that, you truly feel good about them and you love them and and that backfired. I only realized that when I was older, that, in relationships, it's good to be honest and transparent. But at the same time, it's good to pace yourself. You can't drive a car unless you have a driver's license. You get me? You have to go through a process. Everything has a process in life. Sometimes we get so hooked upon the destination that we don't enjoy the journey. So my destination in my mind was like, ooh, marriage, everything. But I didn't actually learn how to enjoy the journey. So from jumping into relationships, I just constantly got my heart broke because of myself. I can say that now. I before used to blame everyone else, but I can say that now it's because of myself. So I thought to myself, instead of venting and trying to jump into another relationship, let me write my feelings down. And this wasn't with the intention to write a book. This was just literally trying to find healing in words, really. I'm an emotional person. I can say I cry at movies. I cry at Titanic. I cried at it like 10 times. You get me? I'm an emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I thought the best way to heal is literally by writing everything down. So that's what I've done. And I spent a good, I think about 4 months writing just stuff about how I feel. Stuff like called a broken heart. Just stuff really just to express my pain. And from there, I found healing, I found peace. And I found it really nice that I could find healing within myself instead of trying to find healing in another person. Because that's another mistake most people and I make, is trying to find healing in someone else. Because at the end of the day, it's only you that really can heal you, literally. Yes, people can assist you. Yes, people like doctors that can, you know, sew up your wounds and give you antibiotics. But if you yourself don't take those antibiotics and don't look after yourself, you're just going to get worse. So that's what I've done. And from there, I found peace. I found happiness. So I started writing letters to my future wife afterwards. And I just writing letters and stuff that I desire and stuff that I want. And from there, I just started writing more about my heart's desires, stuff that I would love to do for my partner in the future. Just pouring out my heart in writing, and then showed my family, and they said, yeah, you should do a book and whatnot. So I contacted Conscious Dreams Publishing because it got sent to me. They had the link, and I was like, yeah. And Danny was on it, so yeah. That's really my story, really. Yeah, I'm just an emotional guy with a big fat heart. And yeah, and one thing I've learned recently, actually, not recently, even the last 2-3 years about love is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's really not. And I'm sorry if you disagree, but it's really not. Love is a choice. Like, you have to choose to have an argument. No, you have to have an argument with someone and then choose to wake up or choose within the next hour to make it work. Love is not just a feeling where, because that's why we say we fall in love, because people fall out of love. Love is a choice. You have to choose to be like, I'm going to put my pride aside. I'm going to put my feelings aside. I'm going to put my thoughts aside and be like, you know what? Do I value this relationship more than my own negative feelings right now? I'm going to choose to wake up and be like, I will continue to love this person. And I think the most, like I said, for my mum, I think one of the biggest examples of love as well is sacrifice, being able to go out your way to do things for other people or for your partner, even though it may leave you in a deficit, even though it may leave you in a hard place. Sometimes love is sacrifice, even if it means that you have to sacrifice your own pride, your own honor, the things that you've been brought up with half the time. I've learned in my relationship right now, half the time I want to be like, burn you, go away, don't want to talk to you no more, I'm right, you're wrong. But literally, because you love somebody, you have to sacrifice that mindset. And you have to choose. So yeah, that's one message I would put out to everybody is love is a choice. And one of the main objects, just like Christ, just like Jesus, he said that he came down and he sacrificed his life for everybody because of love. You get me? And he chose to. He doesn't need to choose to love us. You get me? He doesn't need to use God, but he chose to. So yeah, that's me, guys. Yeah. Hope you liked it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Amos. It's so lovely to hear that from you. I love that. Love is a choice. That's so powerful. We have some requests for you to perform a poem for us, if that's okay, because you've got a few more minutes. Would we like to hear a poem, people? In Nonway's saying that she would love to. Marcel says it's very interesting to hear a facts experience from a man's perspective. Exactly. We'd like some more male authors, please.
Okay, that's cool. I'll do one called Know Your Worth. For my generation and the generation below me, I wrote this because I think for females, it's really hard. You've got the Kim Kardashians, you've got the Cardi B's, you've got social media saying you need to be slim and all this stuff. Burn all of that. Listen, everybody type is beautiful. You get me? Rock your curves, rock your skinny self, rock everything. Honestly, I think it's ridiculous what social media has and the pressure that social media has put on females these days. It kind of hurts my heart as well, because you see so much females and so much young females sacrificing their family values and their morals just for likes. You get me? Just to be on TikTok, just to be on Facebook or Instagram, and just to get noticed. So I wrote this poem with my heart in that, saying know your worth. And yeah, this is how it goes. Oh God, okay, I haven't read this in a while, guys, so bear with me, okay? Jesus. Okay, so it goes, it's know your worth. I saw your heart, that's what made me fall for you. I saw passion in your eyes and humility in your stature. I saw hesitation in your approach, but confidence in your delivery. I saw beauty in your exterior and love in the interior. I feel as if I saw the real you. I saw a girl that had a dream and would do anything and all she could just to birth it out of the womb of her mind and bring it to life. I saw a girl that was so selfless, she would happily help others out when in need and wouldn't mind if she went without because she knew sacrifice was the ultimate example of love. I saw the prayers of her mother help and shape and build her into a unique and elegant lady that had the faith to move mountains. I saw the reason why God looked at Adam and said, man should not be alone. I saw you, and you need to see you. So that no matter what obstacles in life you face, they won't weigh you down and misshape the great and unique, amazing person you are. So that sticks and stones won't break your bones, and the names, nonsense, and negative words people like to speak won't hurt you because you know your worth and you won't settle for less than you deserve. Walk in your worth and don't ever lose sight of the princess you are and the queen you're going to become. There you go. Hope you like it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's amazing. Do we want to hear some more poetry from Amos a bit later? Just put yes in the chat box. We've got lots of comments here. Beautiful. Nadine says it's beautiful. Yes, amazing, powerful. I love the line walk in your worth. Amen.
Thank you.
I know why I'm going back.
Thank you.
Lovely. So Amos's book is in the chat as well. So if you've got any other links you want to put in there, please do go ahead. Thank you, Amos. So next up, we have Nadia Wong, who is a 3-time author. She has published with us Your Legacy, Your Life. Sorry, Your Life, Your Legacy. As soon as I said it, I knew it was wrong. Second one is My Life, My Legacy. And she's also published another book called Your Growing Heart with another company before us. So I'm very excited to hear what she has to say. She's also a happiness coach, do you call yourself?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. And I just wanted to say, so I am a happiness coach. And the reason I started writing, so you've seen, this is Danny just showed you my other 2 books, and this is my other book, My Growing Heart, for teens and young adults. The reason I started writing is that I was a coach, but what I felt was I wanted my work to reach more people, and I felt it wasn't fair for people who couldn't afford to hire a coach to improve their lives. I thought I wanted to make this work available to everybody. So I thought, okay, I've always known there was a book in me, and I just thought, okay, I'm just going to have to do this. I've tried to write books for years and years, but just didn't really have, it wasn't clear, but I had trusted in divine timing, and it all just came, you know, perfectly timed up and aligned. So in 2018, I started to write, and I wrote a book which was similar to Your Life, Your Legacy, but I call it my first pancake because it wasn't very good. But it gave me that experience, and I knew once I started to write that this is what I wanted to do, and I just fell in love with the process. So I just thought, okay. So I then wrote, which is the second book I wrote, was My Growing Heart for teens and young adults. And what it is, it's a journey. It's like my personal stories and a coaching book as well. So it takes these young people through understanding who they are, what they want from life, understanding their values, and really, like Amos was saying, about knowing their worth, because I think that is what most of our problems are as we go through life, is that we don't really understand who we are and know our worth as human beings. And so we use our relationships, we look for other people to love us for us. And I use all my personal stories about how I felt growing up, about how the relationship I had with my mum, I never felt loved growing up. And it wasn't because she didn't love me, but she just spoke a different love language to me. But again, through my writing and through this other book, which is Your Life, Your Legacy. It's about my personal stories. 101 questions in here, and it's about leaving a legacy for your children. But in that book, it's like I take you through a journey of understanding your childhood and understanding your conditioning. And I take you through from sort of how you felt as a child, how you felt about love, how you felt about your parents. And when I did the journey of writing my legacy for my children, I realized that it was an actual healing process to be able to answer the questions and know that, to understand my parents. And it was about the love between me and my parents. And I learned to love myself through writing my legacy for my children. Now, I'll backtrack a little bit. When my dad retired, I was 23. He decided to write his memoirs. And so I didn't know he'd written them. So I found his memoirs in his desk drawer, and I started to read them. And in his memoirs, I found stories of his life that he'd never told me. I found stories about how he felt about certain things as we were growing up. And when I sat and read these words, I just cried and cried and cried, because I just knew my dad was this great guy. I loved him to bits, but I hadn't really thought, I didn't know the sacrifices that he'd made as a father and the vulnerability that came from his life, that things he had to give up for us as children. Because we just assume our parents have got all the answers, but I hadn't seen the vulnerability within him. So it really triggered something. I just thought, one day I'm going to write my legacy for my children. I'm going to write my memoir for my children. So when I decided to write this, it was about understanding, helping people to write their legacies. Because as a writer, I was able to write my stories for my children in a way to help them grow and learn from my mistakes, to help them to understand who they are. Because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. I, as a parent, I've got 2 teenage children, and I still make mistakes. But I'm able to understand and see things differently because I'm able to clear things out through my writing. So these books that I actually did with Danny is the 101 questions, and I use my own life experiences to take you through all the questions to understand your own conditioning. And this is actually a journal for you to write in that's contained in the questions. So it's a really good way for people who would love to write a book but just don't know where to start. It's about understanding. So it's just about answering the questions. And through answering the questions, you can start to figure out how you are and how you've been conditioned as you've gone through your life, to really go back and understand your parents. So it came to the point where I still had, my mum died when my first child was 1 year old, and my world fell apart. I just expected, because I'd had a tumultuous relationship with her when I was young, I just expected, I had lots of years. So we did make peace and we had a lovely few years, but my life with her life was cut short. And so my life just fell apart. I wanted to know so much more about this woman that given me life, and I didn't have that. So this is why the reason for me writing the book was as well because I wanted to make sure that if anything happens to me now, my children will always have a piece of me to turn to when they've got questions. I know I'm 51, nearly 52, and I've still got questions for my mum, because I never knew my mum as, I only knew as my mum. I didn't know her as an adult or as a human being, and so I really wanted to connect with her. And I just feel that I now know that if anything happens to me today or tomorrow, that my children will know the true me. They'll know the struggles, they'll know the difficulties and how I overcome them. In the book, it's not about writing down all your difficult times. It's about understanding them and finding a way to really clear the path, to clear a pathway forward by understanding the past. It's like a way to be able to clear all the past and understand. I didn't need to forgive my mum. I really just needed to understand her. And that is what taking me through this book, writing your own legacy does. It actually helps you to understand why. And it is about love, because it's about understanding the love that my mum did have for me. What I thought she was being cruel, which is, as a teenager as well, you think that, your parents are cruel in the way they treat you. but actually she was allowing me to discover my own life. She didn't tell me what to do, what I thought her power, making me work and do things. And I thought it was an act of, I thought she was a bit of a tyrant, but actually she was teaching me by example and allowing me to just be myself and learn for myself. So she was giving me the freedom really to be myself. With my other book, so because I've got 3 books, I'm all over the place, but with My Growing Heart, I do talk about my relationship with my mum. I talk about my first relationships and how, because I had this difficult relationship with my mum and I loved her so much, but we just had that conflict, like a lot of mothers and daughters do. And what I did is I started to look for other ways to fill myself up. I looked for other people to fill me up. I looked for everything else to fill me up. But what I hadn't ever done until I was 45, hadn't decided, didn't know my value. I didn't know my worth. Only when I started to do all this work, started to write and to really understand who I was I able to understand that I am a whole, complete being. And this is what I do. As I say, all my books are coaching books, and the power is not in my words. I'm only just your guide, and I open myself. I just open myself up, spill my heart out into my pages. But the power is not in my words. They're in your words, the words that because they're coaching books, you have to fill in and write how you feel. In my one for going back to the question about children and young adults, is really to get them to understand their values, to know who they are, what's really important to them, and instead of just looking for anybody, and like we talked about as well with social media, and what is it is missing from your life? Why do you want to be validated by others? It's about understanding who you are and knowing yourself. But we're not actually taught this in schools. Thankfully, now we're starting to introduce a little bit of mindset and self-care into schools now. But I provided a way for people to be able to, for children and for also parents, and to be able to work together on themselves to then build stronger relationships and for that love and connection to become deeper. Because I think if we don't work on ourselves, we can't then have good relationships with other people. But what I wanted to say was, by this book here, the one that was my tradition, I went with a traditional publisher. I signed the contract 2 years ago, and it was only just being published. Danny's one, I wrote at the beginning of 2020, and that was published in October. This was published in January. So, but what happened with this one here, with the traditional publisher, like Danny was saying, when you go with a traditional publisher as well, you have got no power. I had no say in the matter. I had no control over my work, which I found so frustrating. Working with Danny was an absolute dream. Conscious Dreams Publishing. It was an absolute dream because I just had full control. Danny was so helpful. With this, I mean, they've been good because what happened in the end was that they decided not to edit it after having it for 2 years, which I found really tough, because it was my first book and it's not well written. I mean, it's great because it's raw and but it's basically just my thought, which I was quite nervous about. But now I'm really grateful because I feel it worked out with divine timing, because they came out just about the same time. And I feel parents then and young adults can work together on themselves, work on themselves and then work together and see each other through doing this work together. Again, like Francesca said before, it's important that we work on our own values, work on our own self-worth to move forward together. Excuse me. How's that been, Danny?
Amazing. Thank you so much. I remember when Nadia did her first live in a Facebook group I had called Write, and she's like, I can't do that, I'm so nervous. This is in October, September now, I think, September. And since then, I've seen you pop up on Facebook doing your lives. You've just gone from strength to strength. It's brilliant. And I want to add a caveat to what Nadia said. Francesca, who's online at the moment, Francesca and I's father passed away at the end of October unexpectedly, and actually a week after these books came out, and I'm finding that this is really, really helping. Actually using this, so there's some really good questions in here. You know, what have you learned from your father? What have you learned from your mother? What it really helps you to delve into yourself and see your parents as whole people, not just your parent. And it's just fantastic. So thank you. I always find that I always get the right authors at divine timing. Yeah, really good books. Really, really thankful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have, she has not published her book with us yet, but I met her at a conference called Her Story, and I saw her speaking on stage, and I thought, wow, she was just fantastic. She will be publishing a book with us called Lessons from a Frog Princess, which she's going to be showing us. Her name is Nadia Wong. She is a life coach and psychologist. Her book is about learning how to heal from a broken heart, release your painful past, break the patterns of limiting beliefs, and manifest your one true love. So Nadia, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you all hear me?
Indeed.
Hi, thank you, Danny. That was a very nice introduction. Nice to join you all today. I feel very privileged and honored to be with you all. And just to follow up on Nadia, I think being a life coach as well, I think, is it a rite of passage that we have difficult parents and difficult childhoods? I think it's part of the plan that we are here to help others. So let me start at the beginning. Yeah, I'm a life coach. I'm trained as a psychologist, was a business trainer for years. I've been coaching for over 25 years. Actually, I've been doing it since I was a kid, but I didn't know I was coaching, but because it comes so naturally. And now I'm in a wonderful, wonderful place in my life where I can be an author, and my coaching has turned more towards mind coaching. What do I mean by that? My work sort of focuses more on helping people change their thinking so that they can create the magic in their lives to make their dreams come true. Yeah, I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but that's what I do. I teach people magic. So I'm going to introduce you to my book. This is just a mock-up. It hasn't been published yet, but this is what it's going to look like. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more time, if you can put it right up and then just pull out so we can get the OCD.
There we go.
Yes.
Yay. So I had fun making the cover. The book inside is not my book, but but that's what it's going to look like. So this book came as an inspiration through, let's say, different messages that I got from the universe. I never ever thought that I would write this book, because it's really about some of my journey from heartbreak, from the hell of heartbreak to a healthy and happy life. I've poured out my heart in this, okay? It tells about my story through many, many relationships, I'm sad to say. And I can tell you this, like you, Danny, it was not something that I ever thought that I would air in public, because I was trained to believe that you have one love in life, you marry one man, and that's it. Okay, you do not air your dirty laundry. So I came to a place where I suddenly thought, hang on, my story matters and people need to hear this. And there was a lot of lessons that I learned along the way. So it begins, and the reason it's called Lessons from a Frog Princess is because it alludes to fairy stories. Now, not everybody's cup of tea, fairy stories, but my life seems to have taken that kind of direction. It starts off with a little girl, and I call her a frogling. She's 13 years old, and she has hopes and dreams. She dreams of becoming a princess and living happily ever after. Well, actually not dreaming of a princess, becoming a princess. She just dreamed of finding love and being happy. Needless to say, she got her heart broken. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but countless times. She went from being a shy little wallflower, a nervous wreck really, to becoming the party princess. Okay, she became somebody that her childhood friends at school wouldn't recognize. She became somebody who the men adored. Now, who was that person? So at around age 19 or 20, the party princess found herself in a wonderful place where she could get all the treasures that she wanted. So I'm going to read you a little excerpt from the book. The ugly frogling soon shed several layers of insecurity, leapt happily into her new princess role, pulled on her crown, donned some pretty outfits to match. So, of course, no one had warned the princess about her newfound charm and that it might enchant every frog, toad, and newt in the local pond. Her beliefs about being unwanted and unattractive soon crumbled away as she discovered the art of how to attract men. All she had to do was simply be her natural sunny, funny self. She realized that she had a hidden talent for making people laugh, which had an added bonus. It seemed to make for excellent bait. Okay, so she went from there to having some more broken hearts. And then the princess finally met her prince. This was the one. She had found him. And she found herself about to get married. And then as she was descending the stairs to go to the ceremony, a little voice screamed at her. "Stop," it said. "Get out." And she said, no, don't be ridiculous. So she went ahead anyway. I see smiles, so I'm guessing you guys know what I'm talking about. She went ahead anyway, and a few years later, she found that a marriage of convenience was not the answer. It had fallen into a disaster, basically, and she fled. Because that's what a princess does. She flies away. She runs from anything that doesn't work, okay? So the princess ran away, and she decided the best way to deal with an absolutely devastated, broken heart is to go traveling. So there are several adventures about going traveling and going to the other side of the world, where she learns many lessons. She learns how to cope. Coping meant burying her feelings, burying everything. That was not the answer, as I'm sure you'd all agree, but that's what she did. Instead, she went flying looking for treasure. She was looking for the lost treasure. So in the book, I talk about how she went looking for treasure and how she never really found it. Not where she was looking for, but what she did find was a genie in a bottle. Okay, so what am I talking about? It sounds like riddles. Maybe some of you can guess what I'm talking about. So along the way, this was only a small part of the journey, the traveling. There was many more adventures and experiences and broken hearts, needless to say, on both sides, not just mine, but theirs as well. And many, many, many lessons were learned. Some of them absolutely crucial. For example, we all know about mindsets. Do you know about love mindsets? I'm sure you've heard of this. These are the common beliefs that people have, such as there's no good men left out there. All the decent ones have been taken. Yes. Things like dating sites don't work. True love doesn't exist. Happy ever after, well, that's just fairy tales. What else have you heard? What about for some women who say, men don't listen. Men can't communicate. Men are unreliable, untrustworthy, unfaithful. Men only want one thing. We've heard those lines. Equally, we've heard men say things like, oh, women talk too much. They can't decide what they want. They don't know where they're going. Pretty women are stupid. Goodness. And even, oh, women only want one thing, our money. So we've all heard these stereotypical, awful beliefs that go around. And we think, oh, no, we don't take those on board. They don't affect us. But somewhere in the back of our brains, that feed has been, implanted there. And what do we do about them? How do we get rid of that kind of, how do we protect ourselves from that kind of thinking? And never mind all the stuff that's going on outside. How do we protect ourselves? Or how on earth do we deal with the default program that's in here, not in here, it's kind of in the back of your brain somewhere. It's been installed in there since you were a little kid. And you have no idea how on earth it got there, but it did. And it's sabotaging some of your relationships. So how on earth do we get past that? So that was what steered me and has been, let's say, bugging me for most of my life and thinking how and why and how do we get past it? And once I learned how to get past it, I wanted to teach people, and I just wanted to give them the tools, the know-how, the step-by-step instructions, because you can get past it. So in the book, I show people how to, and it's not just for women, it's for men as well, it's for everybody. Anyone who's ever had their heart broken, you can learn how to mend your heart. You can learn how to release the pain. You can learn, if you want, how to become a real, authentic princess or prince. You can learn how to open the genie bottle and let out the genie so you can access that. And once you access that genie is going to help you tame the dragon. Yes, there's dragons in the book as well. So you can learn how to deal with the dragon. What do I mean by dragon? I mean the default programs that we inherently have, all of us we have, and we don't quite know how to deal with them. So you can learn how to teach that dragon to be your friend, because unfortunately we can't conquer them, we can't kill them off, but they're there. And if we can make friends with them, we can learn to turn it around to our advantage. And once you've done that, you can learn how to cast a magic spell. Now, what do I mean by magic? I mean learn how to manifest using the law of attraction. And I open up all the secrets to the law of attraction in the book on how to manifest what you really truly want. And it's not just about relationships. It could be a career, it could be your dream home, it could be anything that you want. So it's all here in the book, which hopefully will be published. I think Danny will tell us more about it. And the idea is that one day, when you get past, when you go through the lessons, and there's 9 lessons in all, you can come out the other end and magically manifest true love, the kind of love that we really truly deserve, and hopefully reinstill your faith in fairy tales. Danny, I know you don't like fairy tales, but maybe you might after reading this one. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Nazish. Thank you. That was amazing. I love the way that you tell stories. It's not that I don't like fairy tales. I don't like how some of the characters have been cast, i.e. the women are damsels in distress. We can create our own fairy tales and they'll happen. You're living yours. So looking forward to working with you. Thank you so much, Nazish. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we now have my awesome and amazing sister, Francesca Bleckner, who is a holistic health and wellness coach and also one of our authors. Her book is called Self-Care for Life in the City. We could not have this event all about love and relationships without talking about love for self, which means embodying self-care. So who better to speak about this than my very own sister, Francesca? I don't know why I'm speaking like this. Hello.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the intro. So my book is Self-Care for Life in the City, and I'm a health coach, and I work with entrepreneurs and conscious business to help them overcome burnout, gain clarity, and lead with power and presence so they can bring their gifts out into the world. So it's very much been, I mean, my journey was, I used to work as a personal trainer for many years, for about 10, 15 years, busy, constantly on the go, giving my energy out, working all hours of the day, exhausting myself. And although I loved it, I was just depleted. So I had to go on my own journey to, sorry, I've just changed my screen because I'm getting, sorry, because I'm just going to go back to my screen because I'm just seeing like, I'm off the screen now, sorry. Tiny little, oh yeah, that's better. So I kept like burning myself out basically. And so after about doing that through my 20s, that was fine because I had the energy. But then in my 30s, I was like, I'm absolutely exhausted, I'm depleted, I'm not where I should be in life, which when you get to sort of your 30s, mid-30s, everyone's asking you when you're going to get married, when you're going to have a baby, when you're going to buy a house with your partner. And at the time I was single and I was just putting so much pressure on myself, and I was like, this sucks. So I went on my own journey to really kind of I suppose heal myself, not intentionally, but everything I went on to learn for my own growth and learning for my business and for how I was working with my clients, and noticing that everyone really was burnt out, especially living in London and adrenally fatigued. I kind of went on my own journey, and every time I went to learn and discover something to sort of, you know, thinking to help my clients and my business, it was more for myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I realized that I'm completely depleted, and I need to sort of remedy myself. And I was also on this treadmill of failed relationships. I couldn't really get past a few months for about 10 years, and again it was stuck in that culture of very much everyone's looking for the next best thing, and not being able to really not from my side, but you know, wanting to find that real deep connection, that soul connection. And but it actually was a reflection to me. I was so busy trying to get there to the next step of where I thought I should be, or where society thinks I should be, or you know, pressure from the outside, that I wasn't really present and I wasn't grounded. I was completely ungrounded in myself, and my physiology was just completely scattered. So through my own work of training in breath work, meditation and yoga and holistic lifestyle coaching, and applying all those principles to myself, it really was, I suppose, it's a journey of self-love, because it forced me to slow down, and also for me to redefine what success is, which is I write a lot about in my book, about really getting clear on your values, your priorities, and success. And when I stopped to evaluate that, I was suddenly like, oh, hang on a minute, success. I had told a story to myself that being really busy and giving all my energy away was successful. And I was like, but at the expense of my energy, my health, and my relationships. I'm not even present. I don't even have time for a relationship. And then I'm complaining that I can't call in a relationship. And I was like, well, hold on a minute, that's not my definition. Where did that come from? That's not mine. That doesn't belong to me. And so I had to get really clear. Success for me meant I have the time, energy, and resources to do the things I love. I have vibrant health so that I can be the container to serve and show up in the world and do what I'm here to do. And when I anchored that in, then everything started to change. And really sort of work on myself and make sure that I prioritize time to take care of myself. What am I feeding my mind? What am I feeding my body? How am I nourishing myself? Making sure I was also running here, there, and everywhere. So filling up my diary with people who wanted to kind of, meet up, but I was always going over to them. I was always the one traveling out. And I was like, well, I'm traveling, like maybe it's a couple of hours there and back. Why doesn't anyone come over to see me or come my way? Because I lived slightly out. I thought it would always be a bit inconvenient. And so it's really a journey of self-love. And I think so many of us get into a cycle of what as well of this busyness, fast-paced lifestyle that we would definitely have been living pre-pandemic. A lot of people, it's been a gift because it's slowed down, but then also some people it's life has sped up because they're juggling so many things. And that's what inspired me to write this book. So it's how to nourish your mind, body, and soul in a fast-paced world. And it's split into 3 sections: the mind, your thoughts, what are you thinking? Your thoughts affect your biochemistry, gratitude practices, the breath, and what else is in it? And then the body, which is redefining success, the stress epidemic. And then the body, which is about sleep rhythm, sleep cycles, your food as nature intended, water, hydration, movement. Also, as a personal trainer, I had this another definition was that I did live a fit and healthy lifestyle, and I think that's what stopped me from completely being burnt out. But I also had a belief that I think many, especially women, have this, that I couldn't be tired because of what I did and what I represented. Like, oh no, I'm fine, like I'm not tired, I can just keep going. And so I was actually overtraining at some points, and I'm just not balancing enough rest. And I really learnt my lesson. So movement, some days I will just use more like Tai Chi type movement to cultivate my energy and life force. So tune in now to how my body feels. What do I need to do? I don't have to train for a Spartan race or train, hard all the time. And then the soul part is the self-love. It's play, your vibe attracts your tribe, forgiveness, the law of attraction, vision and dream building. And now I want to share a bit about the self-love, but also want to share a little bit about where I am now, because now I am in a relationship. We've just celebrated 4 years, and it's very different to the patterns that I was repeating for 10 years, because I gave myself that time and that space. I had a huge big heartbreak, I think, which in 2012, which really triggered the start of this journey. And actually I thought I loved myself because how I was perceived externally. Like I had a thriving business. I was successful in that way. I was fit, I was healthy, I was doing what I loved, and I could go and travel whenever I wanted. But then the heartbreak was a blessing in the end, because it took me on a spiritual journey that made me kind of go, shit, the way I'm talking to myself, I don't truly love myself, because I was just blaming myself. What was wrong with me? What was wrong with me? Why was I not good enough? Why I'm not good enough at this? And then it was just like this floodgates of like, oh my gosh, I've been so busy with the perception of myself externally that actually, and my identity as, at that time, personal trainer, and with that I wasn't truly connected to myself, stripped away with all of the what you do and success and all of these things. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm enough, and being busy was a cover-up. So when I actually stopped looking, in fact, actually, funny story, I went to when I did my training in holistic lifestyle coaching, I was kind of at a breaking point then. I was 33, 34, and I was like kind of dating someone who didn't really know what they wanted. It was the second time we were seeing each other, and I was like, you can't even tell me if you really like me. So what's the point after a few months? And I was in a position where I could buy my first property, and I was doing it all on my own. And every time I went to friends just had a baby or a wedding, everyone would be asking me, when are you going to have a baby? And I was like, I'm single, why are you asking me this? This is just really rubbish. And so I remember I got there, I was living with my client because I needed somewhere to stay kind of temporarily. And I felt really ashamed of that, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm this age, like everyone's settling down with their partners and getting married, engaged, and having babies, and I'm kind of living with my client, which I was really grateful for. And this property had just fallen through, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got 2 more months at my client's. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm dating this guy who doesn't know what he wants. And I was completely burnt out. I was completely burnt out with my work, and I was just out of love with what I was doing. So I remember I volunteered at the training at the beginning, and I was like, I'm here for myself first. And the teacher was like, well, I need a case study. Who wants to be a case study? And my hand just, I was like, where did that come up? My hand just went up. I said, do you know what? I'm done with pushing against the universe. I'm here for myself. And so I was a case study, and I kind of broke down, and completely vulnerable. All my paperwork was written, was shared with the whole class, but I didn't care. And all my kind of like biggest stresses in my life, really deep personal stuff. And that's where I met my partner. So I was not looking, and he happened to be on the course, as he now teaches it. He was there as a mentor. He came in halfway through the first day, so I had already volunteered before he even came in. But that was a real lesson, because it was like, well, while I was when I surrendered to the universe and said, I'm done, I'm just going to stop pushing, I'm in your hands, that's when my path really changed. And we didn't go into a relationship straight away, but I was on a healing journey of really just slowing down and getting clear on my values. And a lot of the stuff I learned on that training is in the inspiration of this book, the Holistic Lifestyle Coaching, Foundational Principles of Health: Hydration, Movement, Your Thoughts, Your Breathing, Your Dream. and water, hydration and sleep and rest and all of these things. So I would love to share a short excerpt from this book, if that's okay. Oops. Second. Self-love. Okay. Ooh, there's so many good things in here. Oh yes, I want to share a couple of tips, and then actually I'm going to share the 4 tips, and then I'll share a short excerpt. So if I have time, Danielle, is that all right? Okay, cool, perfect. So maybe I'll just share the 4 tips. The 4 tips is, number 1, you've got to fill your cup up first. Fill your cup up first so you can give from the overflow. Really key. And I talk about this a lot with my clients, especially women tend to want to be real, like give our energy away all the time. Practice saying no. Your no has no power until you say yes. And so if you get that visceral reaction where you say yes, but you're kind of like, oh, your gut's like no, you're doing a disservice to yourself. And I was doing it all the time, like, hey, do you want to meet up? I really just want to pick your brain over coffee. Oh, okay, where should I come and meet you? What? So yeah, your yes has no power until you say no. Let go of people pleasing. We're not going to please everyone. So this is the external validation, approval, looking for validation outside of ourselves. And it's been so ingrained, programmed through what do you do, like success, what is success, and all of these things. These are all externals. Or what do you have? All the material things, these are all external. So let go of people pleasing. Not everyone is going to like you or have the same beliefs, and that's okay as well, because people pleasing is exhausting. You're giving your power away. 3rd one, embrace your full self, shadows and all. So we all have those shadow sides. There's always those parts. I catch myself, I'm like, gosh, I can be really, coming from a personal training background, I could be really in my masculine energy of that doing, that yang, and hence I had an armor up, which is why I could never let a guy get in too close previously. So embracing my full self and going, okay, yes, sometimes can be really competitive, or sometimes I'm jealous, and sitting with that. What is it showing me? What is that triggering me? But I still love myself anyway if I see that coming up. And sometimes I can laugh and go, oh my gosh, yeah, that was, ooh. Right, if we disown those parts will get louder. And I am enough. So affirming, I am enough. I am enough. I was born enough. I wasn't we were all not babies coming into the world going, oh, I've got to do this. You come into the world as pure love, pure energy. And so it is just reaffirming that, having it as a voice, so that when in that 2012, when that voice of I am not enough was ruling my life, but I didn't hear it before. It was unconscious. But then now, as I consciously say I am enough, I can catch myself when I hear that, oh, you're not good enough to do that, or I'm not enough, or you're not this enough. I catch it. That voice becomes much louder. Go, huh? That's not what I rewired. No, get out. So they're my 4 tips, and then lots of stuff, juicy stuff in the book. So I don't have time to read the excerpt, but hey, you can find it in the book.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Francesca. Wow. I mean, obviously I've known you for all my life, and it's just amazing to see you grow. And I'm listening to you, and I'm like, yes, my gosh, that's me as well. That's me. Knowing your values, like being in your masculine energy. It's, what's the word? Defining yourself by the exterior and how people see you and what you do, and keeping yourself busy as opposed to just sitting with self and embracing all of that. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Obviously, I'm going to say that the book is amazing, so please do check it out. We put Francesca's website on in the chat box as well. You can buy the book from the website and check out her services. And there's also Amazon links in there too. So thank you very much. If anyone wants to put any of their details in terms of how they can contact you, please feel free to put them up. We have reached the Q&A section then of this second section. If anyone wants to unmute themselves, oh, sorry, there were a few comments. Cam says, love listening to your story, Fran, and I'm a massive fan of you and your book. Nice. Thank you. Self-care is essential, says Nadia. And Nadine says, my mum told me this from a little bit. So I think that's about filling up your cup. Brilliant. Thank you. All right. So anyone have anything to contribute, to say, to ask? Any of our authors, or just about love, relationships, what you've learned, maybe your experience? This is an open forum for the next 10 minutes.
Hello, Omalayo. Is Omalayo talking now?
Okay,
Hello.
I found you. Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Hiya.
Okay. Hiya. I'm very new. I haven't written any book, but I've just come to listen and to be inspired. And honestly, I must say I am really inspired with everything said today. From Marcia to Amos, a lot of information. So I'm very glad to be here today. What I really want to say, self-love is key. You really need to love yourself before you can even think about loving or somebody else loving you. You need to be independent yourself in every aspect. It is important. Because if you don't love yourself, you will definitely be trashed and trampled upon at any point in time. But if you love yourself, if you see the trash coming, you throw it away. So, and it's all been said tonight, and I'm really, honestly, I'm really inspired.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Omaleo, and welcome to the Conscious Dreams community. Do follow us, and we'll keep you updated about other events. It's been lovely to have you, and I completely agree. Self-love.
Thank you.
Start of it all. Thank you. Someone was starting to speak. If you just say your name, then I can find you easier and just pin you up here.
So can I just say?
Yeah. What's your name?
It's me, Marcia.
Oh, hello. I'm looking at the screen. I've got to find you. So because I just hear the voice. So if you just say the name.
I think that's really important about self-love. But I need to say that if self-love was that easy, we wouldn't all have to be thinking about self-love being the thing that we all have to do.
No.
So it's almost like a throwaway comment that people make nowadays about self-love. But I tell you, the society that we live in, it does everything to prevent you from really getting to grips with self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a power within self-love that prevents you from being part of the status quo. So when we talk about self-love, I think we really do need to be mindful that we are under attack every minute of every day to not really get into self-love. Because the whole point is that we've been influenced. And when you are really clear about who you are and you're into self-love, you're less influenceable, if there is such a word. Okay? So be clear about what it is that you mean when you're talking about self-love. Because if you're not clear about what that is, you will easily be swayed as the next thing comes and hits you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I totally agree. I mean, I think what Francesca was saying in her book, I think you really clearly demonstrated what self-love meant to you, mind, body, and soul. What do you feed your soul? What do you feed your physical body? What do you feed your mind? What are your thoughts? How aware of them are you? But also, I think the biggest thing is we are taught that love is conditional at some point, shape, form, or other. You know, you will get X, Y, and Z if you do this. You will be rewarded if you are this. And we learn this from school, from childhood, from everything. And as Francesca says, when you're born, you don't have the limitations thrown upon you. You just love, you know what I mean? I'm hungry, I want to eat. Everything's very simple. And when you start to grow up and start to play games, you don't know you're doing it. Okay, well, I have to do this in order to earn love. We don't have to earn anything, it's already here. And it's almost like when we go through our relationships, we've got to undo a whole load of shit, you know, to get back to the essence of what love really is. It's not about seeking it and trying to, because you become greedy, you become seekers, you become manipulative. You know, if I give this, then they'll love me more, or they haven't loved me, so now I'm really angry that I've given it. We'll just give them a loving place. You know, and exactly as you said, you know, self-love is easy to say, just love yourself, but picking apart what that is not as easy as it is to say. And for me, self-love is being able to look at those shadows, because I used to be this love and light person. Now I'm like, screw that. We are made up of so many different things, and we've got to embrace that shadow. You know, I want to look at the dark, deep, horrible stuff and say, I love me anyway. Where's that come from? That's come from, you know, influence, childhood, other things that have played out in my life, and I still love that part. And when you can love all of those broken parts of yourself, no one can say nothing to you. No one can say anything to you, you know, and it's an ever-growing journey. So thank you for that.
Hi, Danny. Can I just talk about self-love a little bit?
Yeah. Of course.
Nadia.
Hi, Nadia. I've got you.
Okay. So in my next book that I'm going to actually be talking to Danny about tomorrow, it's called The Key to a Happier Me. I talk about self-love and the root of it and how to differentiate it from just what is love. And I talk about it being like an artichoke, and how we grow up as a seedling, and we're just pure love. We're just born as pure love. And as we grow, we get these external tough leaves, and we add them, and they're just all the labels that we have used, that we've been placed on by well-meaning parents, by people around us, and whoever we are. So we end up being this tough exterior artichoke, but only when we peel back those labels, peel back all those external labels, and we see that soft, tender heart of an artichoke, that is who we are, and that is the person that we've got to love. All those labels are nothing. They're just external labels. And so they're not who we are. And it's just understanding who we are, that we are that soft and tender heart, born into this world, a pure and perfect being. And that is who we've got to love, because we get confused about self-love. It's your body, is it your mind? It's none of the labels. It's just what's left behind, that pure and perfect love. So I'm having a meeting with Danny tomorrow about this next book, and I'm really excited because this is my masterpiece, and that's complete, and hopefully that'll be out in the next few months. But I go really deep in that book about real depth and love.
Amazing. Thank you, Ned. I'm looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow. What time is it? No, I'm joking. So Nadia said, having to learn how to love ourselves as part of the process and deprogram some of the limiting beliefs, as we've heard today, 100%. And she's also asked Marcia for your Instagram account details. If you could write them in there, that would be great. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Can I add a little bit there?
Yes, what's your name?
Hello, Nazish here. Hi. So following on about self-love, I just wanted to say one of the things that we don't know is, and I absolutely agree with the previous speakers about how to get to self-love, that self-love is ultimately important. But when we are unaware of who we really are, how do we get to knowing who we really are? And part of the journey that I talk about in my book is learning to manifest through the law of attraction. And now, how do we, as far as relationships are concerned, why is self-love so important to attracting the right mate? And I just wanted to touch on that. So the way it works is, when we are within ourselves, true and authentic, when we love who we are, not our hair or the dress or the face or the color or the skin or anything else, it's who we truly are deep down inside. When we learn to fall in love with that who we are, we exude an energy. And how does that energy actually work? Because it's a psychological effect, and this has been proven by science, that we have a thing at the back of our brains called the reticular activation neurons, and they are designed to weed out, to filter out most of the stuff that we have to deal with day-to-day lives. And they just focus on what we focus on. So when we focus on something, good or bad, we attract more of it. And that's how it works. It's a very simple mechanism. I'm sure Nadia will agree. When we learn to focus us, and I'm not talking about, and we all know what this means. I'm not talking about loving yourself where to the distraction of disliking everyone else. This is not a competition, but it's about loving the who you are enough to let your cup overflow, as we talk about. So when your cup overflows, that means you are loved enough within yourself that your love flows out to all and sundry around you. It creates a ripple effect. And when that ripple effect touches those you work with, those you love, those who are around you, you naturally attract the same kind of energy back. Because in the law of attraction, positive attracts positive, not the other way around. So when you exude the right kind of energy, you automatically attract those to you who are of like mind, like heart, and like thinking. Does that make sense? So that's all I wanted to add, that this is how it works psychologically, that when we start to focus not on being self-absorbed, that's not what I'm talking about. It's on just being happy within the who you are, so that you become unshakable. No matter what nonsense is going on out there in the external world, you learn to be centered and true to yourself. And that centeredness will bring to you the kind of energy that you are then exuding. That's all.
Thank you. Sorry, my mic was muted. Thank you so much. I think we've got time for 2 more questions or comments. Any questions for the authors at all? Could even be about the process. Here's your chance. Nope. Okay. Forever hold your peace. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I think it's been an amazing discussion. I just want to thank all of the authors for coming on and sharing your story, your journey, for being so open and transparent and honest. I think there's a lot to think about, definitely in terms of relationships, the relationship we have with ourselves, defining who are we, what self-love actually is. I could speak about this all night, and it's definitely given me some food for thought. So thank you. For the next 10 minutes, is anyone here, first of all, writing a book, or thinking about writing a book, or would like to publish a book? Just type yes in the chat box, because I would like to just offer some value and give you 5 ways to promote your book online, or 5 ways to get publicity for your book online, as we obviously are not having huge events outside anymore. So it's more and more imperative that we look at ways that we can actually promote digitally using online platforms. So just let me know if you are thinking about writing a book. If me giving you 5 ways to promote your book online would be helpful, let me know. MDK is writing a book, amazing. Omaleo is writing a book, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this then. So first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to our lovely Faye Thompson. She is our head of events. So we're used to doing, I'm not used to doing, online events like this. Obviously, since March, I've had to teach myself and get on and do it. I'm enjoying it very much. But we are used to being out and about, networking, meeting people, running workshops, and Faye is integral to all of that. So I just want to say thank you for Faye. She's been managing everything online, putting in all the book links. You are amazing. Thank you. Don't worry about all that. These are some of my authors. Okay, really what I want to offer you is 5 tips to creating publicity for your book online. My first tip is create a Twitter party. Now, I always say that it's great to be on social media, but really just focus on 2. Find out who your audience is, where you can find them. There's no point in you being on Instagram if your audience are on Twitter, or if your audience are mainly on Facebook. Find out where they are and focus on 2 main platforms. So Twitter party is literally just creating an #hashtag. So for example, we can't do book launches online, but you can create some sort of buzz on Twitter. So I'll give you an example. This is my first book, Mr. Wrong. I could create an at Mr. Wrong. And so I can advertise on Facebook or Twitter, send out something in my newsletter and say, look, on Sunday between 1 and 3 o'clock, we're going to have a Mr. Wrong conversation. We're going to have a Twitter party. To find where everyone is on this Twitter party, this is the @ that you need to use. @Mr. Wrong. Use an @ that is going to be, it's not a generic. Use something that's specific to your book. Okay. So use a relevant @ relevant people or organizations. So if you've written a book about love and relationships, you know, why not I mean, Chelsea, if you're still on, yes, you are, @Tinder. Okay. So hashtag, not hashtag, let's say frogs and fuckeries. I don't know anyone who's using that hashtag, right? It's a little bit long, but nobody else is going to be using that one. Put that into Twitter, and then you can @Tinder, for example, or @Match, to see if you can get them involved in the conversation, ones that are relevant to what the content that you're talking about. It's a great way to interact with a new audience. Okay. It's a great way to connect. It creates a buzz around your book and a discussion. The more people who are retweeting, encourage them to retweet. It means that your information is now going to be on their platform, which goes out to their distribution. And it's just a way to create that ripple effect online at a specific time. I'd probably say 1 hour, let's say between 1 and 2 on a Sunday. We're going to have a Twitter party, get the conversation going. It helps you to gain followers as well. So that's my first tip, create a Twitter party. Number 2 is the power of live video. Video is so important. When I first published my book, Mr. Wrong, before I was doing this, I was very much about behind the scenes. I wasn't interested in doing anything in front of the camera. I'd never thought about it. So all my marketing was online, but definitely not video. It wasn't until 2017, mostly 2017, that I actually started to use live video, and I saw my business grow exponentially. A large majority of my clients come through word of mouth, but through videos, and you never know who's watching. People may be silent. I've had people contact me and say, I've been following you for 3 years. I saw your video about X, Y, and Z 3 years ago. What is great about video is that they get to see you in real time. You're not just a faceless person, or you're not somebody writing long posts, that they want to engage with the person. So it increases engagement. They have instant access to you just during that the live. You could have a weekly show, for example. So if you've just published your book, let's stick with Mr. Wrong. I could do a show called the Mr. Wrong Show. Let's keep it simple. Each week can be a different theme. So one theme can be are Mr. Wrongs created, or are Mr. Wrongs created, or are they born? Okay. Or another week could be online dating in your 40s. Let people know. Do a Canva image. Let people know we're going to be discussing. Throw the question out. Make it controversial. Are Mr. Wrongs born or made? What's your view? Tune in 7 p.m. Wednesday. Let's have a discussion. Okay. Put that in your newsletter. Put that on your Twitter. Put it out there so people know. Gain that following. Ask them to like, subscribe, follow, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. You can do YouTube live as well. A good platform to use is called StreamYard. If you use the paid version, you can actually use Facebook, LinkedIn. Does it go to Instagram? I don't think it goes to Instagram. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the same time. If you've got any groups or a business page, it can spray it out to those 5 places at one time, and all the comments will come up on StreamYard, which you can interact with in real time. Interview others. Why is interviewing others important? Why is it good? Why is it effective? Because you also then get access to their audience. it's not just you, you're collaborating. So you've, number one, you've got a dynamic going on. Number two, you invited a guest onto your show, so that if they have a show, they might want to reciprocate and have you as a guest on their show, or whatever it is that they're doing. They will also bring their followers to your page, because they'll obviously want to watch them. So it's all about connecting. None of us are islands, we connect. So the power, I can't stress the power of video is amazing. Number three, this is my sister, as you know, you can create an online book launch. So I had a lot of books coming out, and then lockdown happened in March. We had at least 3 book launches, all set and ready to go. We looked at the venues, booked the venues. Oh, we can't go anywhere. What are we going to do? We're going to have an online book launch. How do you do that? You can do it in a number of ways. I mean, similar to what I'm doing now. Set up a Facebook event, for example, invite people, promote, use Eventbrite or justtickets.co.uk, get people to buy your tickets, set up a Zoom or set up a Facebook Live within the event. I would advise having a host so it's professional. You can do an interview with people who've read the book, so that you've got people on real time talking about what they've got from the book. Testimonials are always brilliant. If you're a business owner or a coach, definitely get people that you've worked with directly. I always think it's so much more powerful for people to hear from the people that you've worked with. Of course, you're going to say you're good. Of course, you're going to say, you know, get my services, it's fantastic. But what are the people who you have trained and worked with saying about you? That is the most important thing. So get reviews. You can create a competition. So if you want your book launch and your book and your services to go further, then just create a little moment in time. Let me see if I can do it now. I don't know if anyone's on this Facebook Live at the moment, but if you're watching this, I'll do an example. If you're watching this Facebook Live right now, or if you're watching this on the replay, please do like, share and comment on this video, and we will choose one person to win one of the books that we have spoken about today. So if you could do that now, that would be fantastic. So that's an example of a competition. Just did that off my head there. So get them to like, share and comment on your video, whatever it is that you're doing. Number one, a like creates engagement. Number two, it creates double the visibility on the algorithm. So when you comment on videos, it boosts up. You're more like, people are more likely to see it in the newsfeed. If they've shared it, of course, it goes on their page, which means it goes out to a wider network. And we all want to be on a wider network. So these are all things you can do to get publicity for your book. Shall I give you 2 more? Is this helpful? Cool. Hopefully. Oh dear. Okay. Number 4. Oh gosh, really important. Ask for book reviews. They are so important. So when you publish a book, it's not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of the journey. Okay. You think the writing is enough? No, that's the start. You think the publishing is enough? No, that is the start. The promotion is really important. So once they've read the book, yes, it's great they're telling you that it's really good, but you need that written evidence. Why do you want book reviews? Number one, it increases visibility. So the more, if your book is has lots of reviews, it's more likely to have a better visibility on the sites, like Amazon, for example. You can create a competition. So when I published Mr. Wrong, I said, lots of people were saying, oh, I really enjoyed it, it's really fun. I said, yeah, but have you written a review? So I said, right, competition. You've got 3 days, 7 days, let's say a week, to write a review. Here are the links on Amazon, and I will choose one winner, and you will win X, Y, and Z. Okay, so obviously they need to show you they've written the review. So it's a way to get people, love competitions. It's a way to get people engaged, and ultimately you get what you want, which is a review, which boosts your credibility. So when people are looking, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm buying something, one of the first things I do is I look at the reviews. In fact, that probably is the first. I look at the products, obviously, but I look at the reviews. What are other people saying about it? I look at the mixed reviews. So the more reviews you can get, especially that are 5-star, it boosts your credibility. It increases sales ranking as well. So again, the more people who buy your book, the higher up your book will go on the scale. The charts, the sales ranking. All right, number 5, that should say 5. Create a book trailer. I love book trailers. Why? When I went to school, I could not sit and listen for hours and hours and listen to people speak. It's been amazing listening to people speak today. But no. Why are you laughing, Nadia? No, because you're all engaging and you're all different, and I'm sold by your stories. But also the interaction was important because it broke it up. So when I was in school, especially if a teacher had a really boring voice, I just was not interested. I need to see something. And as a teacher myself, whenever I create PowerPoints, there's video, there's visuals, there's images. You're more likely to remember when people see visuals. So if you have a book trailer, it's eye-catching, it's creative and innovative. It's an innovative way to market your book. This is true. When people hear information, they're likely to remember only 10% of that information 3 days later. However, if a relevant image is paired with that same information, people retained 65% of the information 3 days later. And if I told you that without this image, you're 3 times likely to forget. I just made that up. This is an example of a trailer that we did. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it because I've not done this before, so I'm going to try. Let me know if you just give me, I can see Nadia and Nazish. If you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. If you can't, just go and we'll move on. Oh wow, cool. They say it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. But when that loss is through the sudden passing of a loved one, how do you pick up the pieces? How do you cope with grief when culture and society try to define the most devastating experience of your life? Not this widow is my story of resilience, determination, and survival, and proof there is life after death. So I just wanted to share an example of, oh, that's another one. We've got another trailer as well, but I'm going to save that because she's going to be speaking next week, so maybe next month, so maybe we'll share it then. So we do book trailers. It's just a really fun and different way to really advertise your book as well. Do I know how to move? Bodies and heavy. Oh no. Right, next, sorry. Okay. And that is it. I'm going to end on 84% of people want to publish a book. Out of that 84%, only 5% go on to fulfill their dreams. To me, that's unacceptable. We've got one life. There's 79% of stories lost, 79% of voices that will never be heard, 79% of stories silenced. Don't let that happen. If you are thinking about publishing a book, or even if it's not a book, you've got a dream, whatever that is, setting up that business, going into that relationship, taking that plunge, don't allow fear or doubt to get the better of you. As Marianne Williamson said, not Nelson Mandela, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So if you want to publish a book, I am offering free 30-minute consultations. My details are here on the screen. You can take a snapshot, take a photo. This is how you can contact me. My website's there. My email is info@consciousdreamspublishing.com. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I just want to say to everybody who's joined today, you could have been anywhere at all, but you chose to be here with us at Love, Books and Relationships Chapter Love. It's been my absolute pleasure, and I just wish you an amazing evening. Thank you so much. And we finished bang on 9 o'clock. That's the teacher. Thank you. All the link, I'm going to keep this open for a little bit, so if you want to write your comment in, that's fine. All the authors have put in their book links. If you want to check any of them out, click on them now. This is also being screened on Facebook, so you can follow me on Facebook if you're not, and the links are there as well. Have an awesome evening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. See you later. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it down now. So thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.